Three sisters with stories to tell. Books in our hands, we know them well. Flipping pages where dreams dwell. Chapter one, here you go. Turn the light, let the words flow. Laughs and love in every show. Books, sweethearts, we grow.
All right, welcome back to episode 3 of The Robin on the Oak Throne.
Get it,
I
Hannah.
honestly
Whoop,
cannot
whoop.
wait. I had it ready to read off of the book. I'm so excited to talk about this. I feel like we got the most information out of the last 2 books, or book and a half, I guess, out of this
Yes,
section.
we did. It was important. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to talk about all the things. But yeah,
Got some
I
hot
guess,
tea.
yes, in more than ways than one. With that, let's rapid recap because it's been a while since we recorded. I don't even remember what happened last week.
Yeah, this is more for us than you all. So just so you don't forget that crap, let's
Exactly.
listen to the rapid recap.
Well, I still love that.
So Asheen, we started last section with Asheen reflecting on his past, his lost wife, and his role in connecting Graves to the Druids through Lorcan, a decision he both valued and regretted. And in the present, he's speaking with Lorcan. Mind you, this is after Neve and Kyr's leave. So it seems very suspicious, like he's going behind Kyr's back. But he reveals to Lorcan that Kyr's is heading back to New York and reaffirms his loyalty to the Wisps. And then Kyr's learns Graves once helped her parents hide from the Fae Killer and arranged for her protection through Killian Ryan, believing the family died. Graves never realized Kyr survived, especially since her powers don't match typical Wisp traits. Though she agrees to help him pursue the cauldron, she makes it clear he must earn her trust. Back in New York City, Kyr's becomes more integrated into Graves' world and team as they plan to steal the cauldron from a secret auction at the Midnight Frolic. Meanwhile, she reconnects with the Druids. Lorcan offers her power, belonging, and a place on the Oak Throne with him, while Ethan, now aligned with the Druids, shares his distrust in Graves and strains their relationship with his kind of brainwashed relationship with the Druids. As Kyr's trades with Graves, she unlocks suppressed memories, discovering her mother killed a Wisp Council member to no idea what just
Actually, I'm really glad that happened because I was stare fixated, and that definitely woke me up. Appreciate you.
Her mother killed a Wisp Council member to protect her. Medical evaluation confirmed that Kyr's memory loss is likely trauma-based. Her bond deepens. That would be Graves and Kyr's, both emotionally and strategically as they prepare for the heist. At the auction, Kyr's acts as a distraction while the team infiltrates security. Chaos erupts when Imani drugs attendees with wish power, manipulating Lorcan and targeting the cauldron. Kyr's pivots, chasing Imani and engaging in a high-speed pursuit. She successfully intercepts one cauldron transport, only to discover it's a decoy. Tracking the real artifact to the Nying Market, Kyr's enters it alone to retrieve it, while Graves and the other are forced to wait and trust her to finish the mission. And that's where we left off, is Graves is just sitting outside Nying Market and Kyr's is in there alone.
They're threatening to eat the fruit. And
yeah, he was gonna
you
go
are crazy.
In she would have kicked his ass too if he had done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a summary of what happened last time. There was a lot of action in that episode, especially towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's a rapid recap.
Rapid recap. All right.
Maybe we should just do that. Rapid recap.
I like it.
You go, girl.
I'll work on that this week during my time off.
Okay.
Okay, jumping into chapter 39.
Mm-hmm.
So we leave off exactly like we said. Pierce has gone into the market and everybody else is just waiting outside. They went to get Graves that second entry coin. So chapter 39 starts with Kyr's following the tracker of the cauldron. She does have a small interaction with some goblins. She's like, I don't have time for this, essentially pulls her gun on him and takes off.
They're like, crazy bitch.
Yeah.
The goblins. She's not friends with the goblins.
No. So she's following a tracker and then all of a sudden it stops. So when she gets to that point, she is in this empty alleyway. Essentially, she finds the tracker on the ground. Clearly, it has been discarded. And she's starting to recognize the scenery, that this area she's in is very quiet. There's no hustle and bustle of the market, which is quite unusual. And she's a bit suspicious. So she turns on her magic and starts kind of looking around if there's any traces of anything to explain this dead end that she is on. And she does end up finding a hidden door. And she does mention the smell of lemon and pine, which is something that came up in last episode around the cauldron. So she's smelling someone's magic. She doesn't know who. But she's connecting that it's the same magic she smelled earlier.
Regarding the magic smell, I did extensive research in my Kindle and found no mentions of lemon or pine or crossed swords, which were the 3 indicators, the 3 clues we had. So we have not gotten anything.
We appreciate your diligence.
You're welcome.
She did it that night.
Right.
I so did.
Yeah. She's like a dog with a bone. So she's obviously assuming the cauldron is on the other side of this magical door. And she is feeling like she's being called. So there's some kind of strong magic on the other side of this wall that is pulling her. Before she goes in, she does think to text Graves, so good on her. But the phone is not working. We're assuming that the magic has some type of interference, so she cannot send out any.
It's dead.
Yes.
So sorry for your bad luck.
So it is what it is, and of course she's going to enter anyway. So she enters the door, and she is on the other side in what she's kind of describing as a lobby area. There's a desk, an oak desk to be specific. And she meets a young girl named Maya, who is very friendly. She notices that Kierce is bleeding and asks if someone's after her. So Kierce is just like going along with it. Yes, she's running from somebody. So Maya takes her to get cleaned up and also mentions that this is not uncommon for people to cross these doors that need help. So this seems to be kind of the MO where somehow people are finding this in need, which I thought was interesting.
The room of requirement.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. I guess we'll see, not in this section because we don't get too much information, but maybe there's something more devious going on here. I'm just like, how are ordinary people or without Kierce's magic seeing these things to know that there's a door there? Hidden. Yeah.
It had Goldie magic signature on it.
Yeah. So she tells them that her name is Shannon, which is her mom's name, but she obviously does not want to go by Kierce. She's trying to keep it low key, do some sleuthing. Maya leads her to a small bedroom while she goes to get supplies, and Kierce is walking us through. It's pretty basic, just like I would say like a little dorm room, and it has a bunch of sweat sets for all sizes. So again, very accommodating to anyone who may just walk through their door. There's like a brief reminiscing about, this would have been an amazing place for her to find during the war. Yeah. She wouldn't have had to end up with James. And she's kind of replaying her life had she found this. Or Jason, sorry. James, Jason, same thing.
It's a J name. You got it close enough.
Yeah. So Maya comes back to tend to her arm. She's noticing this is clearly not her first time to be tending to a wound. So quite the receptionist. Um, she mentions she probably is going to need stitches, so she's going to go find the resident doctor. And Kyrus is a little hesitant. Obviously, she's not trying to, interact with a bunch of people here. She's trying to keep it low key, which Maya catches on to. She's like, no need to worry. You know,
You can trust him.
right. Her whole vibe is very accommodating and we're here to help. Don't
Very
worry.
like hippie or brainwashed
Yes.
cultist kind of
Yes,
situation.
exactly.
Yeah.
She confirms that they have monsters there as well, which they just call people with abilities.
So inclusive.
Yes. So anyways, she runs off to get Alex, the doctor, who is a phoenix, which we haven't encountered yet. We learn a little bit. They are known to be kind of volatile and explosive.
I remember like in the first part of the book when she was trying to steal that bracelet, she talked about phoenixes a little bit and how volatile they were. She avoided them. Basically, they could just explode into flames at any point.
Yeah, so she retells us pretty much the same thing. So the doctor comes in. He has his wings out, which I guess is also uncommon. But he's just like, oh no, don't worry, I'm very calm. Like nothing to see here. This is just, exactly hippy dippy.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So he stitches her up and says, ask any questions you have. And she's like, what kind of questions? I'm like, well, clearly you don't know anything going on, so ask away. We learn that this place is called Sansara, which we learned in the previous episodes, not sure which one, is the sacred oak tree, or was it oak? I don't know.
It's like a power source for the druids, like one of the oldest power sources, right, Ashley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was their tree.
We had been told by Lorcan that Cillian Murphy, the one that has, helped Kyrus and her family, had basically taken all the magic and killed the tree. So when she hears this name, it's obviously triggering.
I thought I was crazy because you said Cillian Murphy, and I was like,
my bad.
Does this guy have the same name as that one guy? And
it didn't even
Ryan.
realized it.
It didn't even go past my mind. I love Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Ryan, my bad.
I
have been struggling
crazy.
not to say Cillian Murphy because I've never known any other Cillian.
Well, Graves is very adamant. The more you don't want to do something, like you don't want your brain to do something, that's what it does. Just like with hiding memories.
Well, also we know I'm very bad with names and titles. So, shoot, where was I? Okay, so she's finding out that this place is called Sansara. So obviously her head is reeling right now with the connection of the tree and Cillian and all the things. They mention, she asks who their leader is, and they say all of us, which cannot be true, right? So they're very vague, although trying to be forthcoming and saying, we'll give you the information, but she's not really getting the answer she wants. So again, going back to we all are in this together. We all help each other. We're all here with the same mission. Yeah. So they finish stitching her up. They're going to take off. She lets them know that she is going to stay the night. She's not, but she's using that as her cover. She obviously knows Graves is like probably 10 minutes away from burning this place down. But
So
she's
true.
just trying to buy some time for snooping.
And obviously she's like super nervous the whole time that they're going to like lock her in the room. Like she's nervously checking to make sure they didn't lock her in. She expects to hear the lock click as Maya leaves. All of the above.
But they do not.
Nope.
Yeah, she keeps getting the creepy feeling that like everything feels perfect, but it feels very wrong. Like,
you know what? I had a weird, whenever she walked into Sansara again, I feel like it might be a woman that leads this place. And I don't feel like she can be. I don't feel like she's going to be right about Killian. And I'm wondering,
Mm.
this might be far out there, but what if her mother didn't actually die?
It's far out there.
I don't think it's far out there either. I'm not convinced
Yeah,
both her parents are dead.
right. Me too. I'm definitely leaving space for that.
And she's just like stayed hidden. Like something
Mhm.
happened, she protected Kyrus, and she used the power instead of Killian because she was probably more powerful than him, anyways, being a wisp.
The only thing is that Killian had the power before. Like he had already burnt this thing down, right? Because it was right now we're to believe
Oh,
it was the
maybe.
power of the tree that is why her
Yeah.
shield was so strong.
Well,
But
I don't
I'm
remember.
thinking it's Killian or even Lorcan.
I don't think both of her parents are dead, but I do think that wherever they are, they either one also had their memory like affected in some way, or they're being like held captive somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the way she was literally flung out on the streets, like
It was very sudden.
that's my whole thing. Like either somebody doesn't remember that they have a child,
Mm-hmm.
or they are incapable of getting to
Right.
her
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
They're unaware of the true state of how she was, on the street at 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, completely agree. If they are alive, it's certainly they're not free to rescue her, or they would have.
Yeah. Otherwise, they would have left her with Graves.
Right.
Like,
Or some, yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to find out. Maybe it was like
Mm-mm.
that day they shielded her and then took off with her parents.
I don't know. I feel like some crazy
Who knows?
shit's going to happen in the
Yeah,
last section.
yeah.
me too. Or she's saving it for book 3.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be a rift?
Anything I missed?
I don't think so. I was
Okay.
following along.
Nice. All right.
I think you
Then
did
moving
miss
on.
my spectacular new bookmark. I mean, didn't even notice.
I'm using mine too.
Beautiful. Mine's in my room on my chase.
All right. Moving along here, she, after verifying she has not been locked in, she leaves her room, and essentially she's just going to follow the power that she's being drawn to. So she ends up at these big double doors. She can definitely tell that on the other side is what she's looking for. She enters the room just to take a peek, and she immediately sees this huge sacred tree in the middle of the room. At the center, she's smelling that lemon and pine scent again. And there are men and women in a circle around this tree chanting. So
I
They're
pictured
doing the creepy thing.
Do you remember in I Am Legend with like they're in like that's how they sleep? It's like in a huddle. Remember
Yeah.
that? The creepy
No.
things? The I Am Legend with Will Smith?
I don't
I
remember
never
that
actually
part.
watched that.
Oh my God, never mind.
It was like a zombie thing.
That was a
or
long time
apocalypse
ago.
thing. I don't do those. Those are weird.
Onward. It gave me nightmares, so I had strong memories. Go ahead.
So yeah, she's witnessing this chanting with her eyes closed, so some kind of seance around this tree. But she is very taken aback by the tree. She says that she has tears in her eye, that it is clearly very sacred. It is an unfathomable source. So she's, in awe of the magnitude of this tree, which she deduces this could only be the tree of Sansara, regardless of the fact that she has been told that it was destroyed.
Mhm.
Now, with that, what did we think? Do we think that Lorcan isn't aware? Do we think he's lying? Like,
To
that's
me,
a
it felt
big,
like his pain and anger about that was real.
yeah.
I think that Killian was banished for a reason. And one of 2 reasons. One, he is so powerful and shitty that they were like, no, we're getting you out of here if you really did destroy this tree. Or he let them think that
An
and
illusion.
yeah, hid it. Like, I feel like he's much more powerful
Mm-hmm.
than what maybe they thought. Like, and he was hiding it and instead he just let them think he destroyed the tree versus having enough power to be able to actually hide it and use it for his own purposes.
This is where this is where it takes me away from like him being the person, because there was no mention of him having any kind of great power. They made him sound like he basically was a smuggler, like somebody who could, find things that people needed. Or I have to go back and read it
Mhm.
exactly, but like it, that's what makes me doubt it's him, because it never indicated that he had innate power. And if he didn't take the power from Sansar to do this,
Well, he would have had, because Grace didn't know he took the tree, but
yeah,
he
Yeah,
still sent
only the
the
druids
family
were
to him.
like aware of why he was banished, it
Mhm.
seemed.
Okay.
He was just a rogue is how they described him. But I took the other route when they were talking about him, that he had to have been powerful to a great
Mm.
degree to be able to not
Like
only
he
be
was
a
pushing
rogue,
back.
but to then get these wisps in and out or whatever. Like if Graves would suggest this guy as your best option to hide a baby wisp, like
Mhm.
I know it sounded sad when I said it that way, didn't it?
and BB Wisp.
I know. Like he had to have some amount of like really strong magic.
Yeah, I'm curious. I just hope we get answers soon.
Yeah, me too. I hope we don't have to wait for the next book, because there's a lot here. Because even going back to when they killed the council lady, she was interested in Kier's, not the mom. The mom was just like, okay, you can come too.
Which is wild because she was only like she was
Mhm.
basically the teenage version of a wisp. She was super, super
If that,
young.
she was super young.
Well, and I
So
think that goes back to the theory of Kier's is more than we know her to be. Like she's some integral part to something, and maybe I don't know. No, my mind is wandering.
See,
Anyways,
my understanding was like they didn't. For with Shannon, it was like you can come or go, like because she was very insistent she wasn't going to leave her husband. I
mhm.
I don't know.
But why
And
come to
maybe like
steal their child?
I don't know.
And they were clearly scared of her and what they were going to do to her.
No.
Or because if it was protection, they would have given them her,
Yeah, I
because
don't know why
that's
they
all they
wouldn't have
wanted.
protected. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
all very weird and confusing.
Yes, lots of loose ends right now.
baby wisps, maybe they were gonna eat their brains or something.
Gross.
I am very much um considering that Lorcan is the ultimate bad guy here.
I do
And
too.
he's hiding behind this facade, right? That's why
I've
I'm
never
also
liked him.
wondering if he has the tree. Maybe he was projecting and putting on a show that Killian took it or something, and like he now has this cold thunder there, and he has the cauldron. I don't know.
I do feel like that would be something that Graves would be aware of. Like Lorcan said
Mhm.
that it happened and Graves had no idea.
Mhm.
Just because his power is knowledge and he still has
Mhm.
connections over there, I feel like it would have been something he was aware of if the tree was
Well,
destroyed or whatever.
he hasn't been allowed in the market.
Right. He hasn't been back to Dublin in a long time.
He's not allowed
No,
in Ireland. He's allowed in the market. They just don't really like him on the Dublin side because
no, he wasn't allowed because of the wards. Remember, he was warded out of the market because of King
You talking
Louis.
about the
third floor.
Oh,
Third floor, whatever, same thing.
They're not the same thing.
I know, I know.
I thought you were talking about
That's what
9
I was
market.
talking about. My
I did
bad.
too.
Gotcha.
I was
No,
like, no, wait.
because um, and this was a theory we had in person, not on the podcast, but I think Lorcan is now possibly the one in charge after they killed whoever the other guy was.
King
which
Louis.
would yes, okay. I thought so, but I could have been, there's so many of them. Uh, so then
King
that would tie into
loser.
him also having this secret part of the market where he's, has this cult and the tree.
He does seem like he would be a cult leader. We've already
Mm-hmm.
seen that in just how the druids.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of
think of
already is a
themselves
cult
in-
leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
Gotta
don't know.
get back on track.
I'm
Lots of
actually
options
taking
here.
this one at face value. Like it makes sense to me that it really is Killian.
I would
Um,
agree I could definitely see it being Killian as well. But
But
because I
I
can't
do
tell
agree
if
that I
this
think
cult is good or
Lorcan's
bad,
the
it's hard for me to.
yeah. No, I think Lorcan is the ultimate, like, a worst kind of villain, for sure.
To the chapter.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, this is a big revelation. I think this is the biggest revelation like we've had in both books so far. But anyhow, we can move
I would
on.
agree with that.
So yes, now Kiers's thought is that is this Killian Ryan? Is his scent this lemon and pine? Is he around here? Somewhere, and he's the leader of this. So that is where her mind is going. So she goes to leave after she has witnessed enough of the chanting. And she is not as quiet as she was entering, makes a loud bang, and like all of the eyes go to her. Um, which is they're also this like welcoming, oh, hello, come
They all
join
seem
us.
high. Just
Yes.
high as kites.
She asks them
mushrooms.
about this tree. Same thing, they don't really give her an answer. They just say that, I don't know, it's something, nothing that of any relevance. She again has this vibe that something is off here, like whatever's happening is nothing she wants to be a part of. She wants to get the hell out. So
I like
again,
that she said
which is
that
what's weird.
this had gone from a very nice charity to probably a tree cult in the
Yeah.
span of a few seconds.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that took a turn.
So that's, yeah, I'm having a hard time because we know the tree of Samsara to be, very sacred and positive, but right now what we're witnessing, it doesn't seem to be that way. So I'm on the edge of my seat. She goes to leave and her eyes catch on a man in the corner that looks familiar to her. She cannot place him, but she feels like she's seen him before and knows him. And then
And
he calls.
I was
What?
just gonna say he's looking at her like he knows
Yeah.
her too, and she's like, "Oh shit."
Yes. And he calls out Kierce. So she kind of takes a step back. She's like, nope, I'm Shannon. At the same time, the goblins come in.
I was so mad that got cut off because I feel like that's incredibly important.
Yep.
Whoever this is, that interaction and that recognition is so very important.
I agree. That part's annoying. The second part that is annoying is how the hell did the goblins get in here?
Yeah, that's a good part. I mean, the goblins did have the cauldron, if you remember. So I do think the goblins are part of this. Not
Whole
all
thing.
of them, but yeah, and that would make sense for them to be part of it since it's hidden in Nine Market.
Well, I think it was probably the goblins that were transporting the cauldron had put it to where it was going to go, and they were
and
walking
she
back
happened to
through,
run into them.
and they saw her,
Crazy
and they were
bitch.
like, "That's that bitch."
Yeah, I was upset. I'm like, oh my god, this guy has to be important.
Yep.
And she she probably would have been able to place him if it had been in her life after her memories were wiped.
Right. I
So.
completely agree. I think this is somebody from her past as a child.
Bum bum bum. Uncle? I'm just kidding.
Dad?
What if it's her dad?
That would be. But don't you think he would have had a much more
No,
emotional
that's true.
reaction?
Yeah,
And then
for
using
sure.
the name Shannon, he would have been like, "That's definitely her."
Well, I was thinking, did they actually ever did her parents ever call her by her name?
I was just having that same
Is
thought. Is
Kier's her
Kierce even
name?
her name? Where did
I was
Kierce
thinking
come
about
from?
that when I started reading
remember.
this chapter, and I couldn't remember,
They
and I
always
was
gave her like a little sweet name.
yeah, like I don't remember them ever using her actual name. So like, it's very
Yeah.
possible that's not actually her name.
True.
We'll
And
have
if
to- when we go through more
if-
memories, we'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
if Pop said his memory wiped, maybe.
No, but going back to like he would have done something by now if that was her dad probably. Unless this is a person.
Well, he is high. Like maybe he just doesn't realize what's going on.
So anyways, goblins come in, she immediately is like, oh, gotta get the hell out of here. So she
Gotta go.
takes off and she gets back to the door. She is able to get through and immediately she runs into Graves. So Vale is also there. Yes. And he helps distract the cults while they escape. because goblins are still chasing after them, as well as the rest of them. So I don't know that I gave that detail, but as soon as the goblins came in, the lady closest to Kier's also trying to grab her arm. So they all
Loretta.
yeah. Oh, of course. They all were on the goblin side, to say the least. So,
Which that's how you know it's a cult, because even though they all look high and drugged, as soon as something goes down, all of a sudden, snap, and they're aware.
mhm.
Everybody turns to.
So her and Graves take off running, and they make their way to the limo, trying to get in and get away. And they do so. They are on their way back to the brownstone. They're chatting. Graves is obviously like, "Are you okay? What happened?" He said that, you should have waited for me. It was 10 minutes. She said, I had to go in. We were going to lose the cauldron. He was like, I was 10 minutes behind you. You should have waited. He told her that he was going to eat the fruit, that it was only because of the rest of the team that he did not, which this surprises her, of course. And she's like, what? You can't do that. Why would you ever think to do that? You can't risk yourself. Which he pushes back and is like, well, you shouldn't either. And gets more serious. He's like, you can't do this alone. You have to let people help you. You have to let me help you. Typical conversation that would happen in this scenario. So she starts, thinking in her mind, she's like, how she can't trust him, but that he has been very different and letting her in and blah, blah, blah. So she decides, okay, fine, I'm going to, take this leap. I'm going to let him in and I will trust him. And she says, okay, you're right. And they start making out.
Yeah, I feel like that was a big turn for them.
Yeah,
relationship
100%.
wise.
Yeah. So then Graves asks her what she's wearing. He says, I don't like you wearing oaks because the emblem
Take
on
that
her
shit off
sweats
now.
is the
Yeah.
oak tree. So this is when she fills him in on everything and how this is a street cult. They're cult on Zara, and that she thinks that the curator that they've been looking for is actually Killian.
And he specifically says, but Samsara was destroyed. And then it's like, so we were led to believe. So I feel like they're on the same
Yeah.
page that like maybe that never even happened.
Yeah.
And I did find back
Which-
where they're talking about the spell. And when Graves was telling Shannon and Adair where to take cures, he said a druid can do the spell. And then he suggested Lorcan, and they were like, hell no. Then he said, there's another, he hasn't been connected with the druids in West since he was on the out. So he had been, he's a rogue druid, but he would have the spell. So I don't know that the initial spell that they were just trying to hide Kyrsa's magic before she came into it, because that was a thing, like before they come into their magic at a certain age, you can hide them and mask it. I don't think he was anything special at that point, at least not that Graves was aware of, from what the
Right.
book says. Yeah, I just wanted to, I looked
Yeah.
back on that just to help us with clarifications, but Yeah.
So I was gonna say, when she says, or he says, so we were led to believe, the only reason they're under the impression that Sansara was gone, that Killian is dead, that Killian drained Sansara is all from one source.
Lord.
Mhm.
And even though he
Like,
pretends he's Mr. High and Mighty, he has lied already.
have they ever heard of trust but verify?
Right.
And then on
Nobody's
top
doing
of
it.
that, why do we trust him in any capacity?
Good question.
We already decided
valid
he's
points.
a doucher.
Well, I think her connection to him that we've been talking about, like she does, even from the beginning, like she has this unexplained pull
Draw-
or like
yeah.
draw to believe him when she knows she shouldn't. Like she's
Yeah.
made that exact comment.
So I'm only going to touch on this lightly because it could send us down a rabbit hole, but this whole soulmate thing, anytime they bring it up, it is only the male that announces that they're soulmates. I would not be surprised if it's not actually being soulmates, but it's a druid spell that the man picks whoever, whatever. They put the spell on the wisp, like the
trap.
binding magic.
That's quite the theory.
I'm just saying, and I say that because, like,
I think it's your section that it kind of goes, it talks a little bit more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they were truly soulmates, they would have known early on. It's not. Why would they just pop in
Her
later?
power was masking it.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, like even for others, like
I was rolling my eyes about it.
I know, but still, this is wild. Anyways, like I said, I wasn't gonna
Yes,
go
we'll
too
see.
deep, but it's hinky. I don't believe
And today.
that the soulmate thing is like really what they're trying to make it.
Well, anywho's, moving on now, they are back at the brownstone. Jen is passed out on a chair, so I had to remind myself this is all just the same, like only a couple hours of their heist. So Jen's like at home, still waiting on all of them, and they're out on this whole mission. So she's passed out. They explain, like, the plan went to hell. There's no cauldron, but let's go get some sleep. Graves takes Kierce up to his bedroom with him, and they share a shower together. And it's very, Graves is like trying to take care of her. He is being very like, what's the word? Whatever. He's trying to take care of her. She's clearly tired. He's like, let me, get you washed, get you in bed, all the things. He doesn't want.
He's just being really caring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like selfless.
I thought it was funny. So he undresses her, puts her in the shower, and as he's undressing, she decides to wipe the shower fog so she can watch him undress.
Like I was picturing it too, like because you can usually see the mirror right there, so she's like you see her like with her creepy little eyes peeping through.
It's like,
She probably had to wipe it again too because it fogged up again. No, I wasn't done.
right.
She's admiring the view.
So they wash each other, and then finally the need is so overwhelming. They have some sexy time in the shower. After that, he continues to care for her. He like wraps her up in a towel, carries her to the bed, puts her in bed. He makes the comment, he doesn't want to spend any time away from her after being terrified that she could have been in harm all night. Which she had even before I think he took her, she had made a mention of, I hate the thought of him being a floor above me and like feeling so far away from him. So they clearly are, again, this turn of their relationship.
She does take the opportunity to bring up his hands and fingers again.
Now,
Yeah,
every time I
Christy-
read that, I'm like, Christy's going to say
A
something about
woman
her fingers.
obsessed.
She is legit obsessed. She was even talking about
I'm not obsessed.
last
I think it's
week.
funny that she's obsessed.
No. Last week we're sitting there watching TV and she's like, you kind of have like pianist fingers.
I was making
And I
a
was like,
joke.
quit looking at
I
my
was like-
fingers, you
I
creep.
did like the winky eyebrows at her and like, hey. But it was a
And
joke,
I had to do
obviously.
this.
Freak.
I had to do the I don't feel safe.
Oh my gosh. So anyways, they get in bed. Kierce is tired, but she's also enthralled. So she's trying to tempt Graves for round 2, and he's like, you need to go to bed and restore your rest. So she decides to turn off her absorption and share some memories of the shower with him to try to entice him.
And then a
And
fantasy.
Bullshit.
yes, and then when that doesn't work, she creates a fantasy for him, and then he's like, okay. but
Oh no,
And I
how
have
ever
to-
shall I say no?
Yeah, he's like, you don't have to convince me anymore.
And then she does, make the comment, this is something, removing her absorption and like letting him that into her mind is not something she would have done before tonight. So again, just reiterating that tonight has really changed
It's
their
pivotal.
relationship. Yeah.
Nothing
Perfect.
to add. The second,
All
at least
right.
the second half of that was all sex. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It was
exactly.
like 6 pages of it. I mean, I wasn't
Mhm.
mad.
I think
But it's
I
hard
like
to
pretty
talk
much
about 6
only
pages of
pulled
sex in
out,
this.
every line that wasn't. All right. So next chapter, we're thrown into a conversation with Kierce and Jen. Kierce is filling her in on everything, and Jen, her biggest point is that she finds out that she is Lorcan's soulmate.
what?
And during this conversation, Kierce is also still trying to unlock the decoy cauldron box. So this is going on in the background while they're having this conversation.
I love that Graves is here too. He's just like in the
Right.
background drinking, like listening to their girl talk.
So yes, as Jen is trying to get more details out of Kier's, Graves is just sitting there, and Jen's like, "Could you please leave? Because she's not going to give me all the juicy with you here." And he's like, "Well, you can say anything in front of me. There's what don't I know?" So Graves is the one actually that explained the soulmate bond. He says it is like an awareness of another person that may feel like a strain in your chest. Their touch is like being intoxicated, the loss of your own will. And Kier's is remembering how she has felt all of these things in Lorcan's presence as well, which are things we have talked about and commented on. Like, why is she doing this? Why are we getting these
Is
comments
she
out
into
of her?
him?
Well, and
Are
like
we gonna have
that's one
a
of the
love
reasons I
triangle?
don't believe that that's real. Like the loss of your will, like that.
It
Like
seems more like a
that's
spell. When
yeah.
you look at it that way,
Mhm.
it does seem more like a spell.
Like it feels too self-serving for the man that
Because he doesn't seem
wants.
affected that way.
He
He's
did with the
into
wish
her, but he
powder,
doesn't seem. Yeah, he
but
doesn't seem like
that was the wish
he's
powder.
always serving his purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas like how he affects her, it makes her consider serving his purpose too.
Yeah, but we don't also get into his head. It's not like
Yes, this is
she's
true.
telling us this from her head. She's not giving any indication to Lorcan that she
True.
has no control.
True.
And she does have control, but it is something that she's like,
Like she has
what
to
is going
struggle
on?
really hard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know that I would go too far on the soul, like it not being real, but yeah, it is interesting.
And
I'm just thinking it
honestly,
as like a mating bond, which we hear about in like all other books.
if I were Kier's, I would want to go back to being human again. Like, I don't see any upsides to this magic shit. Like, I don't feel like it's worth it.
I've seen what I needed to see.
Like,
I'm so
good.
Pierce concludes and, tells Graves, so this is why you interrupted Lorcan at the party. Because Lorcan was about to touch her and he knew what he was doing. He said, I could tell what he was doing, using it against her, trying to get his way. Which Jen then brings up that, like we're gonna have to see him again because obviously Ethan is still there. And we find out, of course, Lorcan has still been trying to text Kiers.
It seems like Jen is kind of like just sitting there with popcorn, like, ooh,
Mhm.
here's his love
Honestly.
life. She has Graves, who's Mr. Dark and steamy, and she
Mhm.
doesn't seem to hate him, but she's also like, so are you gonna see Lorcan again?
Yeah.
She's promoting this.
Well,
Or
and
not.
to add to the conversation of like Lorcan doesn't seem affected, we do know him to literally be stalking her throughout all of these
Yeah.
books. So,
I feel like it's a power move, like a power tool.
and
you
it
know,
very
like-
well could
but
be,
maybe it's
but
a mix.
it could be also that part, right, where he
A
just
man
cannot leave her
obsessed would
alone.
definitely use some kind of creepo love
Mhm.
spell.
Right.
Just saying.
So she confirms more or less to Graves that, yes, I'm going to see Lorcan again. I'm going to wait, though, until my power is fully restored so that, knowing that she has a little bit of a uphill climb when he is around.
More mental barriers.
Yeah. So the rest of the team comes in and it moves more into a team combo of all the missions. So we've got we find out that Jen helped Schwartz. So Schwartz was thrown out of the moving vehicle by Laz, so he was banged up, and Jen healed him.
Very, very convincing double agent. We established that last time.
Yes. Which here's comments like, yes, you're getting a lot better at that. And Jen, not ashamed, but she is like clearly trying
shy
to
about it.
keep it a secret that she has been meeting with Neve to practice her skills. And Kira's like, yeah, obviously I knew that you've been sneaking out and you should be doing that. So nothing to worry about with me.
Yeah, like you can feel. I feel like you can feel that this like crush kind of
Mhm.
with Neve,
Yeah.
but Jen is so like not
Yeah.
exploratory.
I
Kirsten's
agree.
like, yeah, girls are great.
Right. Exactly. Laz also gives news that the cauldron is going to be shown at MonsterCon. So a whole nother mission. Here we go. Um, this obviously is going to be a setup, but Graves confirms that the plan is to steal the cauldron at MonsterCon. Laz also says that they're going to need a better tech guy. With Cheers is like, oh, perfect. We know exactly who. And Graves is like, not happening.
Immediately. No.
And we are talking about Walter Rodriguez from book one, who has, exceptional warding power and can also project his protection onto others. So he is very strong. Pierce would rather than him be on their team. Graves is like, well, I don't know where his allegiance lie. I don't want to give him more power, essentially, by, giving him access to the cauldron.
And Zeus is
he-
like, if we don't get him on our side, he could end up on the other side
Mhm.
against us again. And we
Right.
don't want that.
Well, and I really like Laz's character
Yeah,
because,
me too.
like, he go when Kierce tells them that he was Graves' apprentice, Laz is like, "Oh, well, were you fucking him too?"
Yeah.
Like under his breath,
Which we don't get an answer.
No, fair
and
question.
everybody, no, he just like gives him a sharp look, and everybody just starts laughing.
Which is new.
So
People don't
yes.
usually laugh at
Yeah.
Graves' expense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Graves does eventually accept that he's going to reach out, and we'll see where Walter's position lies. He also then brings up that they're going to need some backup on the inside. And Graves asks about Nate, about
Surprising.
her wolf. Very surprising.
Her wolf. Your wolf.
Yes. Says she will, of course, ask him. She, knows that he will be on her side. And Graves is like, that's enough for me. So we're also seeing, Graves be a lot more lenient in this book as well. Not only with Nate, but also the fact that he has this whole team now. And he does make a comment this too. He's like, ugh, why did I decide to do this? It's so much easier when it's just myself.
He's like
Yeah.
collecting strays
Yeah.
and just being okay with it. Not loving it, but being okay with
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. He secretly loves it.
Yeah. So then Jen brings up the engagement party that this is where Nate they could ask Nate. And casually it's like, yeah, you should come to Graves. And Kirst is like, yeah, obviously knowing he's never going to show up to this social
Mhm.
event with her friends, but does essentially invite him. So more to come. Then George, the driver, asks about Amani and is she going to be an issue? Which we learn that Montreal came by to see Graves and essentially asked for forgiveness.
Oh, yeah, I
And
forgot about that.
Amani is banged up, obviously, from the big car crash from the last episode. And Graves is unhappy, basically threatens their life and is like, the only reason you will be alive is because we have some type of history here. But this is basically the only straw you're going to get. So go behave.
Yeah, and if you ever come back to my city, like, she's dead.
Yeah.
And to be clear, like, the threat was only on Amani's life. So, like, I feel like
Mhm.
he's not really as mad with what's his face, Montrell.
Well, Amani
'cause he
seems
was
to
in
be
love
the
with him.
vindictive one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Montreal seems to be more the calm, peace. And Amani's like, I'm going to come and wreck your world.
Well,
Wanna mess
and
everything
I
up.
can't remember who says it, but somebody brings up a really good point that it was maybe it was Kierce. She said they were all your apprentices, Graves. Maybe the common denominator is you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then we learn that Edgar has been casing the Sansara cult and says nobody has came or went. So they're curious about this. Kierce brings up maybe that they're actually able to move the door. So people may still be coming and going, just not out of the place that they know. Then this meeting commences, and Grace and Kierce start preparing to start working on her memory.
The only thing to add about the door moving is that only Kierce and Graves can see the magic. So it has to be one of them to go and
Mhm.
actually check if the door was moved or not. If anybody's going to
Yeah.
figure it out, it's
Mhm.
got to be one of them.
That's a good point.
And she's not looking to go to the market anytime soon. I don't
She's
blame
got
her.
Phil.
The market really is trying to kill her.
Yeah.
Okay. In chapter 43, Kierce is back on the chase in the library for Graves to help her explore her memories. And the things that they're going through, it's really trying to deduce whether, like by her nerves, is she nervous about what she's going to find here, or is she nervous about the fact that she's about to have to go see Ethan again and Lorcan?
Mhm.
So there's this back and forth and this confusion on what is really bothering her, but she definitely seems panicky. He can tell how nervous she is.
Mhm.
Um, they start to go back through the memories, and he kind of explains it like find a place and then we can just fast forward. Once you get a starting place. So as they're fast tracking through her childhood memories, they keep hitting hard stops. She's with her parents, and they are she's getting locked in this one moment where they're walking past these doors. There's 716. She can see 718. This woman comes out yelling in Spanish. And, at first she sees 7018, and that's the last room she sees. And then something throws her out of that every time. And so as they're trying to piece together these fragments, talking about her parents leaving, trying to protect her, hints of Killian, and Kira's first meeting of Jason. Um, every route that they tried, when they get to that door, it fails. So the last thing they tried was the smells. Instead of using a memory, was focusing on the smell, and trying to go somewhere from that. It got her a little closer. She saw the door 720, which was clear that was the door they were going to. They were going to go into it. Um, but she gets forced out at that point, and by this time her nose is bleeding. Like, she's obviously very taxed, and she's much more drained than she had been before from these experiences. So, like, conclusion of the summary of the chapters, she really has a serious trauma block, and she does get good news at the end that Dr. Moffey contacted them, and the psychiatrist is back. So they're hopeful that going to see the psychiatrist can help her get past that block, or at least learn more about it. Um, there's a lot of detail in there that we can go into if y'all want to. I just kind of did a brief
Yeah.
overview.
Yeah, let's see. I highlighted where kind of like we were talking about earlier, just to add, because Graves, in talking with her about Lorcan, says, the soulmate bond is powerful. He's going to try to use it against you. And she says, you talk about it like it's a weapon to be wielded. So there's
And like,
that.
I have no intention of falling prey to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like I can protect myself against him.
Mm-hmm.
I
She
think it
does
was
also.
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
I was moving on.
And me too. Go
Oh,
ahead, Bill.
I was just adding that with her powers, she says now turning her absorption on and off is just as easy as her slow motion, which she's been able to do forever. So she's definitely progressing
Absolutely.
very quickly.
We get a little bit more confirmation here, um, in a memory about her mom. So the spell would not hide her because she is fully in her powers. So that's a
Mhm.
consideration to make whenever we're talking about why the council wouldn't have taken her to just to protect her, because they can't hide her. So she
Right.
would be very like, it would be like, oh, she's there. We could track her from her
Yeah.
magical signature.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
point. I forgot about that.
Yeah. The cinnamon babka love comes from her mom making it, which I thought was a sad, sweet tie.
Yeah.
Well, and also that particular memory is important because Shannon was saying she was going to leave,
Yeah. So that she wouldn't
which
draw him to her.
Yeah.
which lends to they may not actually be dead, but
Mm-hmm. Underground.
Maybe she got kicked into fairy. Who knows?
Yeah. She does bring back, the smell. I don't know that you said specifically it was the
Yeah.
pine and lemon that
Mhm.
she's smelling
that's
in this
that's the
memory.
smell I was talking about. But
Yeah.
that's what, when they couldn't get past it, they're like, let's try this one last thing, focus on
Mhm.
that scent. And it still did the same thing.
Mhm.
which which
Oh, go ahead.
seemed to confirm that when she smelled the lemon and pine at that doorway,
Mm-hmm.
that the Sansara tree, like Killian has to be involved with it
Right.
because the
Yeah.
two scents were
But she doesn't know for certain that the scent is Killian. It is.
Right.
It is.
that
What's
was
the word I'm looking for?
they were going to meet Killian.
We're definitely being led to believe
Yeah.
that it is Killian.
Right. But I don't like being tricked, so I don't like to fall for these obvious things.
But it does
We-
specifically say it with the smell that it's what is ripping her away, as if she was not supposed to remember that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And of course, like whoever did this to her, if it was Killian or if somebody else was involved, they would have blocked that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would want no memory of them, especially,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, because if you can get back to the person that hid you or whatever, then you can uncover more truths. And, so that would be the biggest blocking. I was curious when Kirsten didn't immediately tell Graves about the guy that recognized her at Sansara.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy that she did bring it in. But he's like, I don't know how we're going to find this dude. He can be like literally anybody. But
So
a little piece of it.
I actually forgot that I had this thought while I was reading this last night. When she gets kicked to the memory of her stealing when she was 5, and somebody seeing her and being like, "Hey, kid, neat trick," and that turned out to be Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
How wild would it be
If it's
if
Jason, it's Killian.
if the guy that she recognizes but doesn't recognize? What if Jason was a plant the whole time
Mm-hmm.
and was developing her
Yeah.
through all
I
of
did.
this, and his appearance has changed
No, I definitely
a
agree
little?
that could be the case. And I think I said that it was even as far as the first book, where it's like with the Amber Dash's situation, it's like somebody knows something about her that she doesn't, and like they've been watching her from the beginning. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Jason could definitely be a plant or at least part of this in some way. How
I just think it's
interesting would it be
wild
if
that
he turned out to be Killian and somehow he's been disguising his face? I don't know.
And
Well,
somebody
like-
from like her childhood. I'm sorry. I can't
No,
tell
you're
who's
fine.
talking. But somebody who she recognized from her childhood, like we talked about, would know that her father was teaching her how to steal and like promoting that.
Mm-hmm.
So that, that theory and then getting somebody to hone those skills
Mm-hmm.
does make some sense.
Well, it's just like I cannot wrap my mind around. They went through all of this trouble to take a baby wisp, hide her magic so that she wouldn't be killed, and then they just toss her out. Not even speaking from her parents' side. Like whoever went through all this, they know the value of a wisp.
Mm-hmm.
And you mean to tell me that they just hid her magic and then she's out on the streets? Like,
They probably had somebody watching her the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
that's why I think Jason was a plant. Now, he could absolutely be dead. I don't think he's dead.
But he also tried to
'Cause-
kill her, which is confusing.
But remember when they talk about Kingston and Graves, the relationship? And like, it was very brutal. And the
Mhm.
mentor-mentee relationship
Yeah.
usually is, to the point where like most don't have a relationship like Graves and Kingston.
Yeah. Lots to think
Mm.
about. The only other thing I added was just that Graves is very much like, what we're doing should not be harming you. So something serious is going on here. Because,
Yeah.
like you said, she's bleeding. And yeah, clearly there's something very powerful here.
This is hurting her, and we know very clearly he does not like to see
Mhm.
her hurt or in bad situations at all whatsoever.
Yeah. It's at the
Um,
chapter 2 where he says, like, if this wasn't you, I would let you keep going, or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was sweet.
Yeah, they kind of close out the chapter like really trying to figure out why whoever this was wanted to block her memory of them so badly. Like that is the big question right now. And I think in the leading chapters. So in chapter 44, and Graves went to the Covenant. They finally meet Dr. Carrion, and Kier starts to unpack what's been going on, all of her missing memories, doesn't really miss anything. She gives her all the details. And then after hearing everything, Carrion really, really narrows in on the fact that Kier's does not, like, she did not see, she did never get confirmation of what happened to her parents. So while she feels like she has processed it or accepted it, Kier's feels like she's accepted it. She's learned to live with it. But there's this big difference in that and actually grieving and processing something. So that's where she kind of says that's Kier's biggest problem, and she's not going to be able to do anything until she addresses it. But Kirsch really is like, I don't want to see my parents die. Like, I don't know how that could benefit me. So she ends up diagnosing her with a double block. So super great, right? Extra great news. She believes she has a magical block that's like literally locking her out of her memories, which is what's causing that jump. Because even as they were going through it, the doctor could feel that jump. And the other one is an emotional block, so the grief that she never faced. Then Carrion does a spell, which she says is like a mixture of science and magic, and the spell will help like release trapped energies. And the success of it, like, it was unsuccessful, obviously, because of the block with her parents. Like, then the spell could get her through that magical block, but it wasn't the biggest problem. So Kier's is essentially stuck after this chapter.
Yes. Let me see. I highlighted a funny because when they're waiting, Graves is like, "Oh, look at all these books to improve your sex life. I don't have any of these in my library."
Pretty sure we don't need any help in that area.
Yeah.
Let's see.
No, that was definitely funny.
Yeah.
This doctor really pushed on like her experience with losing her parents and grief and everything. Like, she seemed like she was really trying to help Kier's and like relate to her. But they also have that question of like, why? Why would somebody do all this?
Well, and in this I highlighted, and now I'm feeling like we don't actually find out, but as you know, the doctor does this magic on her, and Kier's kind of sent back in the memory, wrenches herself out of it and says she still hadn't gotten the room, but she had seen something else that she hadn't seen before.
Right. It was more dark. That it jumped to the door and then she moved past the door. More she could sense anxiety and pain and fear from her parents than she could before. And then lastly, when it jumped after that, they're in her parents' apartments. There are a lot of people. There's a strange voice commanding something, and there's blood on the floor. And that's when then she jumped again to the street where Jason. So she had never seen those memories before. Like, she didn't get to the room, but something moved forward. It just doesn't make sense. It's just more mystery added.
Yeah.
So, what if this memory block, twist of all twists, isn't nefarious in any way? It was just purely logical that he knew if her powers were restored, she's not going to be able to control them. Anybody can get into her mind or, manipulate her if she doesn't have any powers and her absorption goes out. And he literally just did it so that in the event that happened, whoever goes rifling through wouldn't see him.
So more not like, you're less to hide it from her and more to protect himself. Or protect her.
I mean, because if I were him, I'd be like, all right, that's fine, but I'm also going to put a block on her so she can't remember me just in case somebody does get to her. Because it was trying times, guys, trying times.
Yeah. Kier's basically leaves like you expect any stubborn person to leave a psychiatrist's office, where she's like, I really think therapy would benefit you. Talking about it, she's like, fuck that. I'm out of here.
Like, I'm out of here. I don't like this anymore.
Don't need that shit.
You're asking me to do things I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Very on point for her. Okay. 45? All right. In 45, it kind of goes a little more light. They're moving forward. Jen and Kier's are hatching this plan to temporarily steal Ethan from the Druids so that they can take him with them to Nate's engagement party. Once they get there, they're trying to be elusive to Lorgan. They don't want him to know that they're there. even though Kierce knows he's going to feel her. We find out that in Neve and Jen's training, Jen is learning to basically defend herself. What'd she call it? Shoot, the word that Neve used.
Well, she said
Offensive work. Yeah. Are you ready
they're
to do some offensive
healers.
work? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a positive and a negative to every power.
Right. It's sustaining the body and relieving the body. So Jen has learned this trick where she can basically just knock people out using her power, because that is part of healing, right? You need to put people to rest so that they can heal. But she's using it for evil, not good in this instance.
I mean, overall, like, she's on the good side. At least
She's
we
wonderful.
think.
Yeah. She's
So
wonderful. But yeah, it's efficient. She can shut them down and kind of move along. They make it to Ethan and they start talking, and he's really excited to see Jen. He was still super snarky and sassy with Kierce and trying to fight. Um, they share that Nate's engaged and why they're there to take him. They talk a little bit more about Triskel training, and then she senses that Lorcan's like moving closer. So she's just going to go out and distract him. So she follows that annoying magical tether. She endures some bond induced tension and manages to negotiate a deal with him, which nobody ever thought that this was going to be a problem, right? Like, she can get what she wants out of Lorcan for the most part. He knows, like, without her even saying, he's like, you can take Ethan with you, have him back before morning meditation. So, they achieve their mission, borrowed freedom. There's a time limit on it, but they at least don't have to sneak him out and get him in trouble.
And the only thing I have to add is at the end, her and Lorcan are talking, and she said, "What would it have been like if you had found me first?"
I did not like this conversation.
I didn't either. And he says bliss. And
He's
she
saying
said
things like
she believed
okay.
him. It would have been everything.
He's talking so much about how he would protect her. You've been hurt all this time, that you're only drawn to people who will hurt you, because you just can't see that there are people who would protect you and don't want anything from you. Which I
honestly,
think is bullshit.
how freaking condescending. Like, I wanted to throat punch him. But she has this like thought right after she runs into Lorcan, and she says when Jen had suggested this, like the interference part, Kier's had thought this would be easy. That knowing she could manipulate him the way he had been manipulating her would make it so. Standing in the presence of the Oak King, she was less certain. Like,
Yeah, the bond definitely messes with her. And he tries to apologize for not being forthright about it, which she's obviously pissed about. That's exactly what he was giving, like being like all high and mighty about, because Graves kept things from her.
he brings that up every time they see each other. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
he kept
did
that
Graves
thing
tell
from
you
you.
this? Did
Remember that
Graves
one
tell
time?
you that? Yeah. Like,
But then he's saying, I didn't want to unduly influence you. Like, what do you think you're doing every time you're anywhere near her, dude?
Yeah.
Why are you hell-bent on making me the villain? Because you are.
I know. No, when he's like, I've been heavy handed, I admit, but I haven't lied to you. Absolute lies. That sentence is a lie. I don't like him.
Withholding the truth is lying. We've learned this from young ages. It's considered lying. Lorcan, Mr. High and Mighty, you should know
And
that.
the only people that argue that a lie of omission is not a lie are people that lie by omission.
Right. They're trying to get away with that shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else there? Okay. And 46. Here's Jen and Ethan sneak off to this engagement party. They use the subway ride to unpack like the soulmate bond drama and talk a little bit more about Lorcan's past Driscoll, that it included Neve and his late wife. Her name's Saoirse. And so that explains Neve's loyalty more so to the druids. And I don't feel like she's specifically loyal to Lorcan, but because of her relationship with Saoirse, kind of stays in the situation. And Jen is trying to convince them to train with Neve to help control their own Driscoll bond. Like, this is how we can do it. We can't trust Lorcan to do it, but Neve is our way in to get better at this. when they make it to the party, there's tension lingering between Kirsten and Ethan. Ethan and Corey seem like they pick things up right where
Yeah.
they left off with no drama at all. So
Yeah, no
very
drama.
civil. And we get Jen's a little nervous, flirtation with Ronan.
Mhm.
And Kirsten finally runs into Nate and Maura. She's talking about like, oh, great. Maura's like, I really wanted to meet your guy. Like, where is he? Oh, he would never. And of course, he like walks right in.
Yeah.
His presence is like immediate.
Mhm.
Oh, there he is. I need to eat my words.
Mhm. A nightmare had walked into their midst.
Mhm. I wasn't super specific on it, but like Neve, it explains more that Neve finds it difficult to be around Lorcan after
Mhm.
Saoirse's death. Like, is a more of a reminder. We learn a little bit more about the overall relationship later.
Yeah, but we do because that was, I think, actually your original theory that
hmm
Neve was a
I
part
did
of
say that.
this. No, I know, but
No, me.
I said
And
that.
his wife.
Ethan, who
We agreed on it. I don't know who said it, but I was pretty sure his wife was the wisp, even if I
well, we
wasn't
Yeah.
knew,
100%.
yeah,
We knew that.
we knew that from the beginning, but it was, yeah. Anyways,
Sorry, the wisp
Ethan.
of their Triskel
Oh my
is what I
God.
was saying. I'm sorry, Hannah.
I keep losing my thought. Um, Ethan
Mhm.
is unaware. So Ethan is coming to them like, well, Lorcan's the only one that's been in a Triskel. He's the one we have to train with. And it is Jen who's like, well, that's not true. Neve was in that Triskel. So as
Because of her relationship with Neve, right?
right.
She's probably
But
told her.
it's also, we're experiencing the last altercation with Ethan was very much like he now has all of this information and he knows all of these things about Graves, but so conveniently was it left out that Neve was also part of this Triskel. So
Yeah.
kind of again, Lorcan, in my opinion, choosing what information is shared to
Whatever
only
fits his
favor
narrative.
himself. Right.
Yeah, because he could have easily said Neve and I were part of the last Triskel,
Mm-hmm.
not I was a part of the last Triskel. I had trouble following who was talking right here because I feel like Ethan could have gotten some inside information, but Jen also gets inside information.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know who's saying what, but somebody found out all of these things.
Yeah, because
So-
Ethan's the one trying to push for the training with Lorcan, and obviously Kirsten's like, don't want to do that. And then Jim's
Yeah.
like, well, it doesn't have to be him. It can also just be Neve.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought it was weird that she threw this in here. And it also, like, I inherently do not trust Ethan at all anymore. Like, not even a little bit. And when I read the part where they're going up the stairs to go into the event and she touches the handrail and it's iron and she pulls it back real quick and she's like, she hisses from the pain and she's like, oh, it's just, iron. And Ethan's like, what's wrong with iron? She's like, well, I have a bit of an allergy since the spell came down. Oh, and it drains my magic, which I wanted to be like, stop telling him
Don't tell him your
your
weaknesses.
weaknesses in advance. And like, it's very odd to like drop that in there. Like, cause they talk about it a little bit at the very beginning of the book when she steals the bracelet.
Mhm.
But I feel like it'll come into play either at the end of this book or in the next book somehow. Because like, why does she keep bringing it up if it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I guess I'm not paying too much attention because that iron tends to be like the kryptonite. So it's to me just
True.
like known information. But that's a good point. I
Well,
would
I
be
feel like
Ethan
something
didn't
that
know
happens later, something that happens later supports Ashley's theory that Ethan could
sure.
turn on them.
I'm curious. Obviously, like this is going to go one or two ways with Ethan, right? He's either going to go so far left and destroy their friendship, or I do think if and hopefully they all come kind of back together, they are to school, they've been best friends, that this whole experience kind of fixes Ethan. Like we were upset where he was so easily like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go train with Lorcan after all of this. And now it's like, now you've lived it, you've been in it, and you are clearly being manipulated. So hopefully that pushes him back into okay, stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
And this character flaw of his will be fixed. But that's high hopes.
He seems very much like a follower in a negative way, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's all I had.
Yeah, Colette was there at the party too. Nothing significant there, but she and Jen got to see each other after a while. That's it. Ashley, anything?
No.
Okie dokie. Chapter 47. So this ends up being a really good experience of Graves being here with her friends and it being normal, even though she knows he hates this. He crashes the party like he was meant to be there and is comfortable. So surprising to Kier's, he goes in and just starts talking about things that he's usually incredibly secretive about. So how his trip to the market failed, um, and that the entrance to Sansar had vanished. And yeah, Kier's is just like watching him talk, like, wow, this is
Mm-hmm.
cool. Like, is
Mhm.
this what normal couples do?
Yeah.
He continues on that train. He goes full open book. When Ethan starts talking about how things are going with the druids and just starts fully relating to him, talking about him and Lorcan and how they went through the training together. They came up in the druidic order together. You know, how can you? Ethan specifically asked him, "How could you be a druid?" Well, my mom
Mm-hmm.
was also a high priestess, so
Well, and
and
during this whole thing, we get that Corey is very much not on board with Ethan either. Like huffing, like he's being too harsh on Graves. Essentially,
yeah,
like he's damned him, and from what Corey can tell, it's unwarranted.
right. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the person that loves you the most is like, "Hey, you're
Mm-hmm.
being an asshole. Like, why?
Yeah.
You should probably listen a little closer." Um, there's this little dig at like Ethan with his mom because Graves obviously looked into her and knows who she is, which seemed like
Mm-hmm.
it made Ethan uncomfortable. Um, So I think the most important thing we get a little bit more about here is that Graves, Lorcan, Neve, Emily, which if you remember was Lorcan's
Mm-hmm.
little sister, and Sersha, they were all like buddies.
Mm-hmm.
They were a crew. Um, so they were connected, and then both Lorcan and Neve were in love with Sersha. So not only did Neve have this like tie to them, she was like madly, like obsessively in love with Sersha.
Mm-hmm.
So that hit her very hard. I don't know why we didn't get more on that earlier on because we had people who knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And what's kind of suspicious is that they did eliminate the competition for the Triskel, right? I don't know. Like there were two druids, there were two high priestesses and one wisp. And conveniently, Emily was gone, and conveniently, Graves was kicked out of the druid
Mm-hmm.
training, which could have been intentional. Who knows?
Dun dun
And
dun.
dun dun dun. But yes, a very messy love triangle. They talk about really funny stuff and going into like more light conversations. Like they got high on psychedelic mushrooms. Graves did to unlock his magic, and Ethan's like, "What? They did that to you?" So um, after that, he's still an asshole to him. So it's like, all right, can they bond? I don't know. I think that this is just where like there's a small bridge, but necessary is how Kears describes it.
Well, it just
Yeah.
proves how easily he's being manipulated because he was told
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff about Graves,
Mm-hmm.
but not that he was ever a druid.
And
And not
literally
even
nobody has been able to repeat like why.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Graves? Please tell us.
right.
We want to know.
Well, like if it wasn't something legit that they should be hiding because they know they did something wrong there,
Mhm.
then they would have been like, yeah, we tried to bring him into the fold, but we had to banish him because of da 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 da. Like it would have
Mhm.
only fed their narrative. But now, like the fact that they're talking all this massive shit and how terrible he is, but then conveniently leave out that he was ever even part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, they are. It's all selective. Um,
Yeah.
From there, though, you know, part of the chapter is just kind of Kier's watching what's going on, like the people she loves the most getting along well and enjoying it. And it stays the vibe of the whole event stays very light until um Graves and Kier's pulled Nate aside. It was interesting because Graves is like, "I'm here for the party," and Kier said, "Well, I'm here for business."
Mm-hmm.
I got that right,
Mm.
right? Because it was backwards to me. So they pull him aside to recruit him for the plaza heist. They go off into this other building. I didn't want to go into detail on it, but like it's a different area, and there's a cellar apparently that's been there a long time because Graves hid some wine there. It was like a really good vintage wine. So they pop that open. They're talking about the heist, and they're able to tell Nate, like, if you help us with it and we're successful, we'll let you use the cauldron. That's where Kier shares, this, when I approached Graves about the incubus curse, this was the option he presented to me, that it might be able to help. And that brought Nate, right. Like I'm interested, like anything that could help that. I don't remember if it was in this chapter or the next, but he mentions if he had the sword that they could try to break the spell because it did do those kinds of things. That's how Kierce's spell was broken. But makes that little jab that he doesn't have it anymore.
Right.
I thought he said that the sword would tell him if the cauldron could do it. I missed that.
He just says, I'd see if it would also work to break an incubus curse.
He would have tried it.
Since it broke the spell on Kier's.
The funnest part of this chapter is when they're on their way to that little cellar. And as they're walking down the hall, they see Ronan and Jen macking hard. Like,
I loved it.
He's like got her pinned against the wall. Her leg is up around him. And,
it didn't make it. It was funny.
And Nate's like laughing. And Kier's like, leave them alone. They've earned it.
Let your friend make out with that dude, okay?
Yeah.
He's tall, dark, and handsome like me.
It was also funny too when they're talking at the very beginning and Graves is meeting Laura and Nate's like, she normally dates girls. This is a huge downgrade. And he's like, well, I normally date men.
Yeah.
We never knew, like, we knew of Montreal, but that was it. All the other altercations have been women.
But that does make you question, like, was Walter also not only an apprentice?
Exactly.
Doesn't seem like his type. He seems like a really greasy, nerdy guy to me, Walter. I did like
and Walter
that, too.
was secretly the top.
And it's like, then they just are like, well, Kierce is special. He is. That's kind of how they broke their tension, was with that conversation.
Hey, now, I would agree with soulmates if you turned two people that prefer same sex and made them prefer to, like, to be straight.
Right? Maybe.
Like, I could see that being soulmates. Like, you've literally turned two people that prefer the same sex. But
maybe Lorcan put a spell on Graves and stole his soulmate bond.
I just think it's not real. I think it's druid BS.
Let's see. Oh, just to add to the Jen and Ronan thing, Kierce does say, like, I don't know what's going on with Jen, because we also know, like, she's interested in Neve, and she's like, but I have too much to worry about. She's an adult. She could figure it out. So I do find it interesting that we're, like, adding this layer of context in the book.
Right. Whenever, mentioning that, I think, I don't remember what chapter it is in, but I know that they have a conversation about it. Like, it's okay for you. It might have been before this too. Like, it's okay for you to explore other things. Like, you're not stuck, because of your mom or because of your history. You don't have to feel like you can't see if something else would be good for you.
That was really all in Nate's comment. Like, he's drunk. We know he's drunk during this whole altercation. He's like, wait, are you bringing me into the inner circle?
Am I cool now? Do you like me now? It was cute. And he doesn't seem nervous. He just seems like he would do anything for Kierce. Like, they're buds. That's it. Okay. Chapter 48 was a very short chapter. So they locked in Nate's help. They talk about Walter a little bit, and Graves is pretty unsure that Walter will agree to help them and join in on the plan, but he did reach out to him. Kierce is very grateful to him for opening up to Ethan and letting him see the connections, and then it meant a lot to her. But their little sweet moment where they're just talking about all the nice things turns very quickly, and Graves just like launches everything off the table and plops her up there.
The room is soundproof. Don't worry.
The room's soundproof. he pulls her into a much more private, heated distraction. That's what I have in my notes. But yeah, basically, they could not keep their hands off of each other after just the excitement of the night and how well everything went. Things went in their favor the whole time. They can't keep their hands off each other.
Yeah.
That seems
Yeah, it's
like
a
it's on a trend
3-page
now.
chapter, and 2 pages were of their encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why my notes were 2 sentences.
Yeah. Nope, nothing to add. Just Graves did make the comment that Nate would have done it for Kierce, even without the incentive of the cauldron.
Yeah.
Which,
Not the first time we've seen that too.
Yeah.
Like when she dropped off the
We love
money
him.
and the phone, Kierce knows that he would have done it anyways
Yeah.
too. I just hope that she also would do anything for him.
Right.
But I don't think she's been given that chance, and I hope she doesn't really have to be, but maybe she can come through on this incubus curse
Yeah.
help, and that'll be
That would be cool.
I
They
know.
that
seem
makes
like
me
they
really
deserve,
sad.
like they would be good
Anything with like infertility and all that just makes
Mhm.
me really sad. So I know
Surely
in the
she wouldn't
fictional-
write that in if it was going to be a
hopefully
bad
not.
ending.
Come on. But that was the end of my section.
Oh, 49. Next morning, she wakes up with his face between her legs.
What a way to wake
Then
up.
they,
Mhm.
yep, I've definitely had worse wake ups.
You have to say the line that he says to her, though, please.
Oh, that he wanted to break his fast with his favorite meal.
Yes.
She's like,
Woo!
you didn't finish. But they go into shared voyeurism of each other.
Oh, fancy word.
Yeah. And then he's like, all right, we got to get up. We have a visitor, but he won't tell her who. And she's like, WTF. So they take a shower. And then she goes downstairs and she's like, she really wants to figure out who the visitor is, but she's like, I'm too hungover. I've got to eat first. So she goes.
They
and she
weren't in a
eats,
rush,
and then,
though, because they also had a tryst in the shower. So they're not in a hurry to get down to the visitor.
I mean, at this point, they're there. They'll still be there. Like, it's fine. So she eats, and then she goes into the library, and she was fully expecting it to be Kingston. They
I
still
wish
have
it
not
would have
heard.
been because she would have gotten to smell him for the first time.
Yeah. Well, she makes a mental note. They still have had no contact with him, no word, nothing since the quote unquote ominous roses incident. So even the author wants to confirm that, yeah, there's something hinky going on the Kingston front. We don't know what it is though. But then she realizes it's actually Walter who is in the library, and Jen is there, and she's like, oh, well, you woke up late. And she tells her that she's hungover. She's like, oh, but you could fix that. And Jen's like, no, like you did the deed, like you're gonna have to suffer through it.
Love that.
Which, how rude.
No, I love it. She's like, I
Like-
can't. No, I can't get you out of everything, girl. Like, suffer a little bit. Remember that you're human, or that you were.
She's a practice, okay. So she asked Walter, I'm actually I'm surprised you're here. Like, what convinced you to be here? She's like, he goes, you. She's like, me. But because she didn't kill him and Graves didn't come after him, like,
You're
he was
welcome,
very much
Graves.
like, you had every reason and every ability. Like, you can totally void all of my magic. You can walk through any ward I could ever put up. So you had every opportunity to kill me or have Graves kill me, and you didn't. So that's what convinced Walter to join what Jen has now monikered them as the Holly team.
And she's like, let's get t-shirts.
I love this too. And it ties into like earlier when she's wearing the oak clothes and Graves is like, ew. So she's like, well, you don't have Holly shirts, do you?
Yeah.
I would wear one. Here he goes.
And
Holly shirts.
Walter even agrees. He was like, all right,
I'd wear a t-shirt.
I'll wear one.
Kiersten's like, you just joined. Like, shut up.
You know
You
who
don't get
Walter
a
is to
vote.
me? Like, in my head, he's Branch Barty.
That's funny.
Why you gotta call him
Yeah.
out full name like that?
I'm sorry, nobody knows. I don't think anybody from Albany will ever watch our podcast.
Oh my
hope
God.
not.
Now you're giving out locations. Like,
They're gonna feed
sorry.
us.
Hannah can bleep that out. Okay, sorry. But
so then Jen brings up that they need to do Triskel training. And Kirsten's like, and Jen's like, no, you agreed. Like, you promised you would do it, and we need to do it. And Neve says that we should do it next week on the full moon because our powers will be heightened, and it's going to be the only time that we can probably really start this training of whatever they're going to have us do. And she's like, okay, fine. I'm going to need the week to prepare to be in the presence of him, of Lorcan.
and she's still recovering from that, like, really trying memory
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. And so then all of a sudden, Walter pops in with a, fuck.
Well, and just to add,
And
Jen is also nervous to see Neve after her road interest.
Yeah, I don't know if we went into it, but like when they were leaving for the party, Neve kind of made a jab, like, you know, I don't remember how she said it, but basically mentors shouldn't be like mingling with their mentees.
Yeah.
And I think that hurt
yeah, because
Jen's
Jen had
feelings and, like,
invited her
Mm-hmm.
and she gave her the, there shouldn't be any fraternization.
yeah. So I feel like that was like, oh, she's not interested and this has been in my head. So she's even
Yeah.
second guessing herself
Yeah.
more.
It definitely sounded like a brush off, whether it was, it was clearly a brush off, but whether Neve did it because she's not interested or because she's too interested
Yeah. That
is
the
up for
question.
debate at that point. But
My theory is she is so hurt from the short shot of it
Yeah.
all that she's scared to get involved with Jen. But anyways.
Yeah.
So Walter is like, oh shit, we have a huge problem. And the first problem is that the curator has decided to, after the last theft attempt, they've decided to now go with in-house security, which means that Schwartzy is out. Well, turns out with Schwartz out, that means Kirsten's out because Schwartz was the back door to get Kirsten because MonsterCon is very like, you have to have an invite.
No
And
+1s.
and Kirsten's even like, well, just add me to the list. Nope. Because to be added to the list, they do like a barcode system and check it with photo ID. And then like everybody's going to know you're there. The thief that wasn't invited. Yeah, like,
everyone would know you're there. The uninvited thief. Seems
Yeah,
like a good
like-
tell, right? Like, let's announce that.
right. So then also on top of that, the general security is also going to be ramped up because of all the biggest, baddest magic people are going to be there. And the curator is bringing in all of these special items or whatever for auction. So it's no bueno. And to note, regarding MonsterCon, turns out, so there are hundreds of people on the invite list to the point that Walter didn't even want to print out the list because it was going to be so long. But on top of that, turns out every single person that is invited is in turn required to be part of one of the top. So there are hundreds of people, which means there are going to be pretty close to hundreds of actual lectures going on. And Kirsten's like, wait a second, you're invited. Are you giving a talk? Like, because she had read some of the itinerary. She's like, I didn't see your name. And she keeps reading. And it's because he's actually not named. He's the talk is supposed to be Monsters, Not Magic, a comprehensive look at the myth and lie of the motto featuring a surprising guest, a renowned monster treaty specialist.
Did you guys find that
And-
ironic that he's speaking on Monsters Not Magic and he didn't see, like, and that was one of their first interactions that, like, there's no
Mhm.
map.
Yeah. And she's like, you got your name removed? And Walter's like, no, I did it. Like, I've only been on the Holly team for like 5 minutes, but like, I'm that good. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
But turns out that lecture is actually scheduled after the heist is expected. So he was never actually planning on doing it. And on top of that, it's 8:00 in the morning. She was like, they should have known you'd never agree to that. And as Graves continues to look down the itinerary, a light bulb goes off when he sees that there is a welcome reception benefit for the arts and as a way to get Kirsten. And because they're going to have the cast of A Midsummer Night's Dream there. And Kirsten's like, oh, Lyra.
Yeah. How are we going to say that this book? Yeah, she does
Yeah.
not seem mad about getting to see her again.
Yeah.
And that is it.
I don't have anything to add.
Me either.
50. My notes are actually seemingly long, but there's a lot of like 3 to 4th level bullet points, so hopefully not. So we start off and Kierce is actually at a midnight showing of The Midsummer Night's Dream, and we find out she's actually booked the entire week, and this is show number 4. Graves went with her to the first one. She went alone to the other ones. And then this one, he came with her again. And they're in their own little solo booth. And he's definitely touching her in ways that normally you wouldn't do in polite society. And all
Because
is
she
good.
decided not to wear any underwear.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you be quiet? Do you think you're capable of being quiet?
She's like, no.
That one time when Jen could hear us all the way across the house. It's a
Right.
big house.
And for the record, it's not that dark. She even makes a comment like, yeah, it's very possible that somebody sat there and watched us. Like, it's not that dark. And I'll come back to how he opens up a little bit, but overall, the goal of what they're doing is to get Lyra to notice that Kierce is there every day, which when the show is over, she does look up at the booth and Kierce is like, she definitely notices us, but she's noticed me every single night. So she's been just kind of slowly planting the seed, and Graves, like before Kierce decides to go down to meet up with Lyra, Kierce is trying to get some kind of idea of what to expect for the Driscoll training. And she's asking Graves because she's assuming, well, you knew Lorcan and you were trained to be a druid and he was part of the last Driscoll. You clearly should know what was going on. Turns out no. Because like while he was in that circle, he was actually already banished before the Driscoll was even formed. And so he has no idea, but she's like, okay, well, which we do find out. Kier's asked, like, you were banished because of Emily. And all he says is in part because of what happened with Emily. Like, we still don't know how she died, but it's definitely part of their excuse on pushing him out. Because he's like, it was always
They wouldn't have
going to
found a
be
reason.
that way. It just so happened that gave them the excuse they needed. And so Kier's is like, well, I'm not looking forward to whatever Lorcan is going to pull. Like, I know he's going to pull something. I just don't know what it is. And Graves is like, oh, well, I'm sure he'll try to convince you to go through the binding ceremony.
Another thing you failed to mention.
And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And Graves is actually stunned because he thought she knew about it. And she was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, look at that. Keeping secrets. And she's like, is it like a marriage, like a mate bond, or like what's going on here? And it's a way for them to bind their magic together,
Which would benefit him as we just spoke about.
mm-hmm. And it actually used to be soulmates didn't have a choice. They were forced into the binding ceremony. But now that's not the case. And Kyr's is like, yeah, that's not happening. But with how she feels, who knows? We don't really know yet. But they kind of wrap that convo up, and Kyr's goes down to meet Lyra. And they kind of have like a little bit of a flirty exchange. And they get in the elevator, and they're partially all the way down almost. And Kyr's actually pulls the hold button. And Lyra's clearly like, hold up. Like, I know the other night I was a little forward, my bad, but, I'm not looking for a donor, which is, artsy speak for payment to sleep with them.
Sugar
She's like,
daddy.
I'm a professional.
Sugar mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kyr's is like, no, I believe you. Like, I'm not here to pay for sex. Like, do I look like I've ever paid for sex? And she's like, well, no. And she's like,
That was
I
a little
just wanted to let
cocky.
you know, yeah, that I'm interested. She's like, oh. So then they walk out, like, she lets her off the elevator, and they walk out toward the limo. And she's like, oh, well, I mean, if you need a ride. And she's like, no, I can get
Creepy lady.
to the Barbizon on my own, which Kears takes that, like how clear she is with exactly where she's staying, that she's like still interested as well, but she doesn't want to come off as, sleazy or whatever. Like she's trying to stand on what she said in the elevator. And so she's like, yeah, I've already roped her in, like planting the seed. And then she does the, oh, I almost forgot move and asks her about MonsterCon. And she's like, yeah, maybe we'll see you there. But, my beau, she never actually clarifies. She never says Graves. And Lyra asks who the man is that's been coming with her sometimes. So I thought that was weird. I thought she knew that she was with Graves, but she tells her that, since there's not a +1, she's still trying to figure out a way to get in. And she's like, but maybe we'll see you there. And then she leaves. She gets into the limo, and Graves is like, so how did it go? And Kirsten's like, oh, I got her. And he was like, she invited you? And she's like, no, but she's going to. Like she's very secure in her response too. So in the limo, Kirsten's like dead on her feet, and she falls asleep because it's probably 1 a.m. in the morning. And she starts to dream of the hallway, and she skips to from there. Like she still doesn't get in the door,
Step
but
closer
then
though. She like touches the door handle at least this time.
yeah, and then all of a sudden she skips to her parents' apartment, and she starts panicking. She's like, no, I'm not ready. I can't see what happens to them.
The
And she's
flashing
like full
lights
on
too.
panic
Like you're
mode.
thinking like ambulance and
Yeah.
okay.
And then she wakes up, and like she can barely breathe. She puts her head between her knees, and Graves is like, whoa, whoa, like what's going on? And she's upset, and Graves is like, it's gonna be fine. You'll face it when you're ready. And why don't we just hold off on doing any more memory stuff until you're more comfortable with the idea of finding out what actually happened to your parents?
Yeah, she
And
actually
so she
expects him
agrees.
to push her. And he's like, no,
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that to you.
Yeah.
So she's falling deeper.
51. A lot happens in this chapter, but my notes are actually really short on this. So Pierce and Jen are on their way to Brooklyn for the Driscoll training. And they get there, and Neve and Ethan are out there, and they're kind of chatting, and Kirsten's like, oh no, I've got a bone to pick with Lorcan. And
Well, and before
mhm.
that, we do learn that Lyra like ties all of that up, and Lyra um asked Kiers to go with her already.
Yeah. She gives her exactly what she was looking for, like a way in to the monster
Yeah.
con. So secure.
Okay. So Lorcan just pops out, and he's like, so what did I do this time? And she kind of holds off, and he was like, well, we'll let you guys, hash it out and we'll meet you in there, but don't take too long. And Kirsten's like, so why didn't you tell me about the binding ceremony? And he's like, oh, he just kind of brushes it off, right? And he ends up confirming that the magic that Kierce has is actually his wife's magic, which
I don't
is
like that.
why, yeah, which is why, like, he feels so strongly about that. Like, they were soulmates before she died, and they were, so they were
Mhm.
bound, and they were in a triskel, which is a whole nother layer. And he talks about, reincarnation and whatnot. She's like, I am not your dead wife. Like, I am not your reincarnated wife. And he was like, no, but your magic is. I find that to be total bullshit, honestly. Like, the more they talk about soulmate stuff, like, the more, like, I'm just like, I don't believe this. Like, I don't believe this.
How about the fact that he mentioned that his wife didn't want to do it either?
Yeah, I've been waiting to talk about that
Like,
because
she sounds like she
going
was
back
pushed into
to
it.
Lorcan's the bad guy here. And she never wanted this, and he somehow found a way to get her.
Which
Right,
we should
like
find
she,
out in the next chapter. But
yeah, like maybe she wanted to be with Neve.
Mhm.
And like this was his way of pushing the people he didn't want in the Triskel away so that they could form it and he could get what he wanted and get the power. And then he had powerful children.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't like this.
yeah. So my silly idea isn't sounding so silly anymore, is it, ladies?
And like, I mean, I don't know. I think you might be taking it a little too far, but it is interesting too because it's like, how could you be soulmates with more than one? Like, yes, it's her magic, but it shouldn't be the same
That's
thing.
not her soul.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't as soon
It's
as
icky.
he said that, I don't get how it could be her magic.
Yeah.
But then it also is like, okay, did she have something to do somehow? Like, I don't know, for a second I was like, is that her mom? But then that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was they were together for like 400 years and that was
Yeah.
already further back. Shannon wasn't old enough.
Yeah.
Thing of like, so there aren't that many wisps. Maybe he's just like filling the wisp magic. Like
Yeah.
It's been a while. There haven't been
like-
any wisps in a while.
Yeah, like he's like, I remember this. But it's just wisp magic. It's not his
Yeah.
wife's magic, which is crazy. I am not reincarnated.
Yeah, she's very adamant, like, no. Well, and so she's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And he's like, I'm not gonna rush you. All I have is time. And, you have forever to change your mind, basically. Like, it was, it's creepy. But the
Again, she's
creepiest part
also
about
just
this,
accepting what he says.
they walk hand in hand into the building. That is the creepiest fucking thing. And I, like, no.
And she knows that's going to drag her in, like any
Mhm.
touch between them.
Like, this is like, I just get the, like, dark magic feel to all of this. Like, ugh, it's gross.
And him saying the oak throne will wait, like he's just so like presumptuous about like that she's gonna come around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Okay, so they get in, and Neve is getting them all set up to start their Triskel training. She's giving them all of these, like where to stand, all of this. And she's very clear, like, Lorcan may be here, but I am in charge of this. And Lorcan's like, well, like they're trying to almost play it off as like they're kind of kidding, but Kier's is like, no, I can definitely feel like there's more to this, like, struggle for power between the two of them. Like, there's definitely something going on. So the first thing that she wants them to do is to try and, like, one person try and link all of them together. And Kier's is the only one that can do it. And they do it over and over and over and over and over again until Kier's is like, I could link with them in my sleep at this point. But Neve is very adamant that they will all be able to do it eventually. It's just going to take practice and it's going to take time. And as their magic grows and develops, like it'll be easier once they're stronger.
She
And
also
Mhm.
says how Kierce's absorption is key to the link because her absorbing power is going to strengthen Jen and Ethan.
yeah, because she can funnel it, I
Like
guess.
amplify it.
Yeah. So as they're doing this, Lorcan is pushing that they should try to move power between them. Kier's pass it to Ethan, and then Ethan pass it to Jen, and then Jen back to Kier's, and then go the other way, all this. And Neva's like, no, like, I need them to have this part down. Like, they've never done any of this. It's too early. And Lorcan's like, well, they can only do it on the full moon. Like, so this is our only time.
Why don't you fuck off, dude?
And Kier's agrees. And because, like, with the linking, Ethan and Jen are kind of feeling a little bit like refreshed, so to speak. And so they're like, yeah, we can try it. So after they practice some more of the linking, then Neve is like, okay, fine. Like, we can try it, but we have to be really careful. And there were a couple of blips that they do figure it out. And they're passing, she says, like this passing a piece of rice size of magic to Ethan and then to Jen. And they're like super energized now. Like her magic has refreshed them. And he was like, okay, it's time to take a break. Like, I think we're good. You guys are looking absolutely exhausted. And Lorcan again is like, no, I think they need to try, like, essentially like siphoning power from one and then giving it back. And
Yeah, that and
he
I
was
make
like,
it the same face.
Yeah. Of course, he's like, no, they need to know how to take your power.
yeah. And he was like, absolutely not. Like, they look dead tired. That, like, they're brand new to this. That's dangerous. Like, they're not ready for that. Lorcan's like, well, I can take over if you need a break. And she's like, no, like, that's not what we're gonna do. But she does need to go to the bathroom. And she's like, literally, don't do it. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm coming back. And Lorcan takes over while she's in the bathroom. And what do? They start right up with this idea of pulling power and then supposedly giving it back. And Ethan starts, and it is an absolute cluster of all clusters because he supposedly accidentally starts pulling and pulling and can't stop pulling from Kierce's magic.
She trusted him.
And
Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get in at all.
and Neve happens to come in as this is happening. And she's the one that bodily tackles Ethan to get him to stop. And so now Kierce is completely drained and essentially goes unconscious, which we knew would happen if she's at flame out. But was anybody else concerned? Like when she touched Graves's magic, he very clearly said, if you pull all of our magic, we die. So is that just a warlock thing?
Well,
Because
that was specific because a wisp can kill the warlock.
This is
by pulling all their power.
right. This is what happened here. Is that she opened it up and like she let him take from her. That was the goal, but he didn't stop, and she couldn't stop him. Like so, I don't think that he could just go up to her and take her magic and drain
Right.
her like with his powers. But she created the opening.
Well, regardless,
what
he
you
took
mean?
all of her magic, is my point.
She was probably
Like,
low already. But yeah, he
no,
did
no.
drain her.
I mean, what I'm trying to get at is if that happens to a warlock, they die.
Mhm.
So was anybody else not wondering what was going to happen when he drained all of her magic? Like,
I don't know.
I guess not.
I don't know. Yeah.
interesting. Well,
because it didn't say here, like, yeah, her magic empty absorption off, her vision blurry. I don't know. Maybe he didn't just, they stopped him before that, but I'm sure that it could kill her if she's fully
Yeah.
drained.
well, and I want to know why Lorcan just stood there.
Also, why he scooped her up and why didn't carry her out of there.
Yeah.
I was really nervous about what he was planning on there, leaving with her.
Like, yeah, I
Oh,
think
and
he's a
it
creep.
explains it right at the beginning of the next chapter, Ashley, that she didn't burn. She didn't fully burn out. So I think if she had gone through full burnout, then that would have been detrimental. But she was
I
just
thought
drained.
Neve said that she did.
No. So the interlude. Do you want to just go ahead and go into the interlude then?
Well, I
Anybody
was
wants
just
to add
gonna
anything?
Oh, sorry, Hannah.
when they first started this, Kyrus is like recognizing how easy this is coming to her, and that she's obviously been working with Grace, who has this immense amount of power. So she just hasn't been aware of really how strong she is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I found to be nice for her. This
And how
realization for her.
how beneficial her just knowing how to turn the absorption on and off is, like, for
Mhm.
this. And Lorcan was surprised. He's like,
Yeah.
"How are you
And
doing?"
she's like, has he
We
been
haven't gotten there
leveling me
yet.
up this whole time? And
No, he was. He
no,
was
he did.
surprised.
Yeah.
Because he
That's
said,
in chapter.
"You went
You
straight
went
to the
straight
source
to the
like you've done
source.
it before."
Yeah.
I've been training too. Like, part of
Yeah,
me
that's 52.
after this.
Yeah, 329. You went straight to the source like you've done it before. He pursed his lips in disapproval.
So, like, I'm wondering if, as because she, like, he
Weird.
knows that she's vulnerable in this. That's why he,
Mhm.
like, allowed Ethan to do that, to kind of, like, knock her down a level and,
Well,
like,
and
show
if
her vulnerability.
we are on the Lorcan train where he's actually been manipulating everybody all this time, like maybe he has specifically been training Ethan to take Kyrce's powers. So that's why, like, all of a sudden he's the one. It's not Jen, it's Ethan, which I find to be important.
We
That
still
he's
don't
just
know.
taking and taking and
Mm.
taking.
And we still do not know how his wife died, how Saoirse died.
Mm-mm.
Maybe a druid drained her.
Mm-hmm. Himself. But yeah, so I just thought she's, again, with the comparison of Graves and Lorcan, like Graves has been leveling her up this whole time without it being this big thing that Lorcan's doing right now,
Yeah.
right? Where it's been almost secretive that he's been working this hard with her to make her be magnificent.
And he pushes so much that Graves is using her, but, like, every single step along the way, it is beginning to look like Lorcan's the one that's trying to use her.
Yeah.
Like, trying to hone her powers into his benefit, share the throne with her, all of it.
And then the other thing that we didn't touch on is when they do share the power, Ethan gets it first and he's like, holy shit, like this is beautiful. Like, is this what your magic feels like all the time? Like, both of them, it's like an experience for them
Yeah.
to get a piece of Kyrce, which again just adds to this,
She's
background of Kyrce is different. And
different.
yeah, that's all I had. Or
Phineas.
did we know that the smell of his magic already, which is spring, rain, and summer sunshine?
No. Is it surprising, though?
No, right. But at least
Smells
it's not
sweaty.
lemon and pines.
You smell like sweaty allergies.
Smells like creep. Okay, so the interlude is Neve. And back to what we were talking about. She says she does say magic burn, but not burn out. And she says, but she's drained. So he didn't take all of it, but he basically did, which interesting. And it's her and Lorcan kind of talking at the beginning, and she's even like, she's not your wife. Like, that's not who this is. And he's like, it says that he looked like he'd been slapped. He's like, of course I know that. Clearly, like, you're forgetting that it's not your wife.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same. And she brings up, like, to herself that she hates how he acts like he was the only one impacted by her death, as if Neve hadn't loved her first.
Yeah.
And because we knew they were childhood friends, but they actually, like, legit loved each other. And
I
she
loved her first.
um, she actually hated Lorcan, like loathed him, didn't want to have anything to do with him. And then Lorcan all of a sudden announces that they're soulmates. Which again, I think is BS, but okay, cool. And it wasn't until Emily's death that the two of them actually got married, like got together, which I found to be quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. We also, when he announced their soulmate bond, Sorsha asked Neve to run away with her, but she did not want. And
Yeah,
Neve's like, I regret not doing that.
Yeah, it's clearer and clearer that Saoirse did not want Lorcan.
Mm-hmm.
I liked hearing a little bit. So the aspect that they're like, Neve was respectful. Like, we need to let Graves know she's okay. He's going to flip his shit. Like, and he's like, she's safe with me.
Yeah.
And then learning that, a little bit more about Neve, like she was born a boy, and like she
Yeah, I found that an interesting
and so like
nugget.
she always like recognized herself as a girl, and so she picked the name Neve. Like, I don't know that we knew that she picked it because of her love for Ashin's story, however you say it, I can't remember how to say his name. Ashin's story. And then that's been her name ever since.
We
So I
did
love
learn that in Oshin's section, but not the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also interesting that she says it had all gotten complicated when Lorcan brought Graves into the mix. So again, kind of, if Lorcan's the puppet master here, Graves was also some kind of pawn.
Where did it say that?
And maybe, like you guys were saying earlier, but which I missed, where there was like two and two. So he brought maybe
Two,
he
two, and
brought
one. Like,
Graves
Saoirse was the
in to
only.
take away the other one. I don't know. Was Emily one of them? Was she something?
Part of the group?
She was.
Yeah.
So it was.
She was part of the group, but was she
She was the other high priestess.
yeah. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why he brought Graves in, because Graves and Emily.
Another druid.
Which she does say that Emily was the only one that seemed to be able to draw Graves out of his shell.
But that her death is what brought Saoirse and Lorcan together, making me really think like he had
manipulation.
Yeah.
And so we find that apparently Lorcan also happens to also give her a look every time they're around each other, basically, that says it should have been you, which is interesting. But then she's thinking about Jen, because she runs into Jen. And she's like, Jen is another problem. She keeps pushing her away because she'd lived a long, full life with the love of her life. She couldn't watch a second one die.
She made her
So
heart
I
beat.
did not remember that when I said that earlier.
Oh yeah, she makes Neve's heart beat wildly in her chest as if she's resurrected the decaying thing, and then she gets Jen to call Graves.
Yeah.
Call Graves for me, please. She's gonna have to sleep there. I hate Lorcan.
I'm excited to finish this book. I hope we get answers and don't have to wait for the third one.
We have 3 more chapters, right?
No, yeah, but now, like, the more we're talking about this, the more intrigue I'm.
Chrissy's like, hold on.
I read 3 more chapters. Maybe this is why when I said something earlier, they were like, what?
No, my wheels are just spinning. I need
I'm
answers.
excited too. I wanted to keep on reading. So where we left off, it was kind of like,
Okay. Next chapter. So Kyrus wakes up and she's like, oh, it smells great. She actually like puts her face in the pillow. She's like, oh, that smell. And then she opens her eyes and she's like, where, what? Hold on. Nope. Where am I? And she's super weak and she actually calls out for Graves. And she does realize that she is only in a button-down shirt and she's clearly still at Lorcan. So this must be his room. And she's like, well, thank God the other side of the bed is still made.
I'm in Lorcan's
like,
bed.
Yeah. And Lorcan hears her call out for Graves and comes in and he explains like, One, she's way too tired. No, Graves isn't there because even he isn't that stupid. Although, I mean, ugh. But we find out she's actually only been out for a few hours, which I was terrified she was going to be stuck there for like 3 days. And by the time
Yeah,
she
me
woke
too.
up, Graves had blown up all of Brooklyn. Like, there are no more people. And he keeps telling her, you should go back to sleep and you really need your rest. And at one point, he'll end up offering to join her, which is creepy. Um, and then he makes it even creepier by telling her, well, if we were bound, I could replenish your magic for you.
Yeah, I hated
And she's
that.
like, I'm good. I can replenish my own thing.
What if he would just drain Saoirse so she had to bind to him?
Yeah.
That is magic
So,
assault. Magic assault.
yeah. And she does actually confirm. He asks how she replenishes her magic. She's like, by stealing, which he finds this amusing. But she's like, well, she asked about Ethan and Jen, and he's like, they're fine. They're both asleep. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm leaving. Like, I need my clothes back. And he's like, well, what if I burned them? Like, would you just stay in mine? Like, he is a grade A creep. I don't like him. And she's like, give me my shit back and I'm leaving. And so she gets her clothes back and her phone is in there. So she immediately calls Graves and she's like, yeah, I'm standing in Lorcan's bathroom. And of course, he's not very happy. But
At least she was
he's
honest. This
like,
is a really big step in the relationship.
Yeah.
yeah,
I am in another man's bathroom who is my soulmate, supposedly.
yes. And he's like, oh, well, I know. So I know where you're at. Like, I know where the building is. As soon as I get George to drive across the bridge, so he's been parked across the bridge because that's where this little imaginary line is. Basically, just waiting for either her to call or for something to happen where he has to violate their little treaty. And he's like, I'll be right outside in minutes. Like, come downstairs. And so of course she's realizing like how much restraint it would have taken him. But on top of that, like he wasn't just sitting at home. Like he was as close to her as he could possibly be without breaking the treaty unless he had absolutely no other choice. Which kudos, like he's showing more restraint than I would have thought in this book.
He's trusting her
Yeah.
to handle her shit.
And so as she goes to walk out of the room, because Creep didn't leave the bedroom while she was changing in the bathroom.
He made me so uncomfortable. All of the
Yeah.
like little slighted comments, like you could just say, "I'll get in the bed with you."
Yeah.
You look
Yeah.
good wearing my shirt. You don't need to change into your other clothes. Like all of this is gross. It's
Yeah.
really uncomfortable. Get a clue, dude.
Yeah. So she goes to like walk out and he's like, never forget what he's capable of. And she's like, oh, I won't. And I also won't forget what you're capable of. And he's like,
Yeah.
I'd never hurt you. Fucking creep.
And he sounds like he assumes she doesn't know what Graves can do.
Right.
Right? Like she's not living with him and intimate with him. Like with him, like he warns her or whatever. Like she needs to be careful with him. I don't remember what he says exactly. I've been practicing. Why would you need to turn it off? Because sometimes I'm going to hit magic burn and people are going to be able to use their magic against me. So it's
Well, I wanted
weird.
to talk about that specifically.
Yeah.
Because he's like, why would you need to turn it off? Which I found very interesting. It's like, well, look what literally just happened. And you've been alive for how many years and you don't think that that would be important?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. Her absorption confuses me because when it's on, she absorbs magic, right? When she turns it off, she lets other people's magic through, right? That's to confirm it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He seems like he's just setting this conversation up to warn her against Graves to me. Like, like I don't know. I'm seeing it like he's probably convincing her to do this so that he can manipulate her, which is probably what he's doing. I fully suspect that Lorca thinks Graves has manipulated
Yeah.
Pierce into his home, into his arms. All the more
I
reason not to
actually
let you
see
leave
it
anytime soon.
I see it more as I think Lorcan is actually really surprised, not necessarily that she is turning it on and off, but that Graves would show her how to essentially defend
True.
herself when she's at her weakest.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I took it. That because I mean he was married to a wisp for 400 years, unless she like was real sneaky somehow and didn't tell him that she knew how to turn it on and off. Like she
I
had to have
mean,
known how to turn it on and off.
because of the Triskel. Like that's
Right.
obviously part of the human Triskel.
So like he has to know that like it at least to some degree that it's a possibility. So I think that's why I think his surprise is more strictly from the fact that like why would you teach her to defend herself from me?
Because he thinks
Uh-huh.
Graves is a terrible guy. Is that okay? Like you're getting at? He doesn't think he would let you do that.
I'm honestly I don't know why he thinks like it's
I'm
just
curious,
beyond me.
but I still despise him.
I do appreciate the last sentence where she isn't believing him
Right.
instead of it being the opposite.
She almost believed him. Almost.
And that she doesn't forget what he is. 53?
53. All ready to go? So Graves comes, picks her up, and that's when he finds out that she had been in his t-shirt because she smells like Lorcan.
You smell terrible.
And yeah. And Kirsten's like, don't freak out. Like, let's go take a shower and I can smell like the jasmine shampoo or whatever that you got me. It'll be fine. They get home and they go to lie down in bed, and Kier's is starting to think about like all the ways that she like hates how out of control she is with her feelings when she's in the presence of Lorcan. And Graves says out loud, yeah, I hate that too. And that's when she realizes, she doesn't have her magic and he was reading all of her thoughts. So she starts thinking about the like busting into vaults or whatever his technique that he taught her. And she actually like kind of pulls away and starts to tell him like, stop reading me. And he is like unbelievably hurt by it. And of course he gets a little catty about it. And Kirsten's trying to backtrack. And she's like, that's not what I meant. Like, I'm sorry. But that kind of opens the door for Graves to actually give us even more info about his and Emily's relationship. Turns out they were in love. And he knows how confusing and frustrating she's feeling because he could feel it from Emily as well. Because while they were in love, Yahoo Druid was like, oh no, Emily's my soulmate. And there was nothing she could do about it because, again, it was like forced upon them. They even petitioned to get married, thinking that, well, if they see that, we both want to get married and, not deal with the soulmate bond, maybe they'll give us an out. Nope. That's denied. And then somewhere in that time, he still hasn't confirmed how, but she dies and he's kicked out. And it's really, I don't know if it's sad or super sweet or both, but he's wondering out loud to Kierce about how he had convinced himself that someone could be his, and he's scared that he started thinking about the impossible again. She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, that you could be mine. And that was really sad for me. But at the same time, like, Kierce is kind of like, wow, like, I can't believe he's actually saying all this stuff out loud. Like, it's very internal monologue slipped out, seemingly.
I feel like that we finally found the thing that broke him.
Mm-hmm.
I think what actually broke him is how Emily died. or why Emily died.
Sure, yeah.
But the fact that he was in love with her and he lost her. Or like if she did choose to go soulmate first, like that was the way it was forced to. He lost her to somewhere else. She left, right? Because that was his root of things. Is like they always leave.
I'm thinking it's almost like they
I
petitioned,
think they tried to run
all the
away.
things, and she got killed because she wasn't
Maybe
like,
like he didn't do it, but he got her killed. She was
Yeah.
killed because of his actions.
or because of her love for him.
Yeah. And also, I think Lorcan had some dirty little hand in it. I don't know how, but
I agree.
yeah.
Um,
But were you gonna say
was that the
something?
end of it? Yeah, and
No.
unless there's something else you need to say at the end of it.
Kierce's response is she finally like goes back over to him and is like physically touching him again after she pulled away and opens her feelings up toward him. Like she pulls her what little magic she had and like lets him see past what she feels for Lorcan and all that confusion, but down like really deep in there and how she feels for Graves. And she tells him that, no one gets to force us into a binding. Nobody gets to tell us who we can and cannot be with, regardless as of the soulmate bond. Like the only two people that are involved in that decision are the people in this room. And he was like, well, just know that you're my choice every time. And I just want to say she doesn't actually reciprocate. Like she doesn't specify
She's
that
never
herself.
told him that she loves him or anything. She's been very closed
Yeah.
off on that. I wanted to bring up earlier on in the chapter how worried they were for each other. Like Kiersta's expecting him to be like really angry and explosive just because of other things. And then when he talks about Jen's the one that told him what happened. And he's like, Jen could not see the danger. Like she
Right.
did not fully grasp the situation that Kierst was left with her magic drain, absorption off, and that literally anything could have been done to her.
Yeah.
So Graves is sitting there worrying about her, every single
Yeah.
piece of her being taken advantage of. And he's handling it very well, I would say, for that.
Anything else?
Yeah. I feel like if there wasn't more of a control thing, like if there wasn't something sketchy with Lorcan, that Kierst would see through all of this bullshit. She wouldn't see any kind of
Right.
like I feel like it's very much forcing the brighter side of things
Mhm.
when she says, she kind of like is devil's advocate for him in a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Okay, last
The last
chapter, chapter
chapter.
54. So it's a few days later, and she's fully charged again, and she's in the library working on the decoy box. And Walter and Jim are with her. I say with her, but they're both in the library.
And Anne Boleyn.
Yes. And she finally actually gets it open. And they're like, oh, cool, let's see what's in it. And it opens, and there's nothing in it.
I see Walter going,
Sorry.
nice. His eyes.
Right.
That
Yeah, he's
reaction.
very like, oh, that's great. Yeah. And all of a sudden, again, Walter with the oh shits. They have a huge problem. And one of them is like, okay, well, is it better or worse than the last problem? He's like, way worse. And he's already let Graves know, and he's almost there. So Graves comes busting in and he's like, are you for real? Like, how did you not catch this before? Turns out there is a manual switch on the cauldron system, like their little internal computer system. And they now have no one on the inside. So they're like, what the hell are we going to do? And yeah, Jen raises her hand and Graves like, you don't have to raise your hand. She's like, no, I'm volunteering.
Hell
And
yeah,
then
Jen.
yeah, immediately Kierst acts like Kierst, and she's like, no, absolutely not. And I was so proud of Jen. She's like,
Me
this is not
too.
your decision. And she stands up for herself, and Graves is trying to figure out like why do you want to do this? And then it kind of dawns on him. He's like, because they're both healers So the cauldron is a healer of things, as is Jen. He's like, oh, you want to actually learn, you want to try and learn from the cauldron. And she's like, yeah, if I can. Like, and then, so they kind of go back and forth and argue about this whole Jen doing it thing. But Walter interrupts with another problem, of course. And it is that the timing available to actually steal the cauldron is 4 minutes and some change. And what that means that the only person that could steal it is going to have to be Kierce. And that wasn't the original plan. The original plan was that Kierce was going to be the distraction for the curator.
Again,
I
don't know why I missed
and
that.
yeah, she can't do both because the curator needs to be very far away from the cauldron and whoever is stealing the cauldron. And Kierce is actually pretty upset about it. She's like, wait, so you mean I'm not going to get to talk to the curator? Because this is what she's been trying to figure out this whole time. And so the crux of it is curator or cauldron. Like, which you can't have both. You have to pick which one.
And one
And
is for her and one is for a lot of things and people.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so before they make a decision, Graves and Kierce decide to try the memory work one more time and see if they can make any progress on it. Because the fear is that if she does try to steal the cauldron, then all she's going to be able to think about while she's doing that is actually talking to the curator. And Graves also kind of throws in there at one point, like, you always have a habit of, getting into things that you shouldn't be focused on during these heists. She's like, you think I'm just gonna like run off and go find him? He was like, I mean, a little bit, which is kind of valid. But
Never
so
planned to go off script. She's like,
yeah. So they sit down and decide to try and do this memory work one more time and just see if they can make enough progress that they think that they could figure it out beforehand, which because I think the heist is like the next day, right? It's like 1 or 2 days away.
I don't
Um,
know.
yeah, it's like super soon. Because when Jen was saying Walter offered to teach her like what she needs to know to do the manual switch, and she's like, "You're gonna do that in like 2 days." Um, I digress. So the memory, she actually lands not in the hallway, but in the library as a kid again when her parents went to Graves for help. And it's it's right at the point where her dad is putting the knife on the table and asking if that's sufficient enough for payment. It was, blessed by Faye. And Kierce is realizing like he was literally willing to give up the last piece of, foraging purposes that he had to save her in any way he could. And so she's an absolute mess because again, she's realizing like they loved me so much and I'm sitting here trying to figure out if they died. Like I don't want to know if they died because as of right
Or
now,
how,
there's the
or see it, or
opportunity.
whatever.
Yeah. There's an
Mhm.
opportunity that there's still some hope in it. And well, she comes out of the memory and Graves is like, yeah, there's no way. Like we have to stop and we have to put the curator to the side for right now. There will be other opportunities. But if you're getting this upset on this one memory, what do you think is going to happen when you see this guy if you find out what happens to your parents? Right there in the middle of a heist. And so she agrees. She said, we can deal with the curator and memories after.
Yeah. She's not prepared for it. She knows she has to do it, but she's not prepared.
No. Great section. I'm
Was I
excited to keep reading.
Literally thought you
feel
were going to
like
say great sex. I was like, wow.
oh, I had a hard time stopping because I was like, I feel like the memory unlock is like coming.
It's so close.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be like the last bit. That's how this book is going to end. I think we're going to find out.
Oh, I hope not.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah. At least we're not far off from the third book if that does happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June, and we have some plans to fill the time.
Yeah, I want to
get us
finish
through it.
this trilogy I'm on.
Well, anything on the book to wrap up? Theories? Any other last?
I'm
No, I
curious
just
if
want to end it
Kingston's going to
with
show up.
Lorcan is a creep.
Maybe Kingston will be invited to MonsterCon. I don't know if it's for Europeans as well, if it's just for American monsters.
Yeah,
But
when we were
I
reading
mean,
this, I was like,
Graves
how
is an
crazy would it
American.
be if Kingston is somehow involved?
I think. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
remember last episode, I was like, what if that's Kingston? Like, she's never
Yeah.
smelled him. What if he's the
Mhm.
curator? And like, he's been orchestrating all of this, and he can
That would be
portal, so he can
crazy.
literally be anywhere he needs to be at all times.
Yeah, that
I
would be
do
crazy.
think that there's something nefarious about Kingston for sure.
For
Like,
sure.
I'm still on that train with you.
Well, I mean,
Um,
even the way she's writing, like we know he's going to come back up. The
Yeah.
flowers, like
Mhm. You can't
Just-
just drop
well,
that and like that be the rest
Yeah.
of him in the book.
right. Well, and now that Graves knows exactly what scent it is that she's hunting down, like he's smelled Kingston's magic before.
that's true.
Oh, why wouldn't he have said
That's
that?
true.
Oh,
Well,
damn
because
it.
he doesn't think it's Kingston. We do, or we did.
But I mean, like, if she said pine and lemons, he would have been
Yeah,
like,
he
oh
would
shit,
know.
that's what Kingston
Yeah.
smells like.
Yeah.
right, which is
You
why I
know?
don't think it's Kingston.
Damn. That was my best theory.
Maybe
It was at the
Kingston
time.
is hiding whoever it is.
But we
Yeah.
still have a quarter of a book and then a whole nother book later. Doesn't mean he's
True,
not
true,
still
true.
shifty.
Hmm.
That's all I had, though.
Lots to think about.
Mm,
Yeah.
Sorry. Whew.
All right,
Smell
join
it.
us next episode to wrap up all the theories. And hopefully we
Yeah,
get some answers
maybe.
or we'll be on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Because we kind of
TBD.
just left it like, what the hell at the end of the first
Yeah.
book?
That's
What
true.
the hell just happened?
Like I said, this section we got more out of from the first book.
Yeah.
So we could
Yeah, we
be the third
literally
one before
rearranged
we're
our reading
whole.
schedule because of how
Yeah.
that book ended.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did.
All right.
Love you, sisters.
Love you, sisters.
Hannah, you didn't do your like, comment,
I know.
subscribe, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I don't do it every time. Like, comment,
Oh.
subscribe. Give us your
Oh, I thought you
feedback,
did.
please.
And then, love you, sisters.
Goodbye.